There is and God, I know I'm one. My mother was a tailor. She served my routine. But my father was a gamberman way down in New Orleans. Now the only thing the gator needs is a suitcase and a song. And the only time he's satisfied, it's when he's on a drawn. Oh, mother, tell your children not to do what I have done. Or spend your life in sin and misery in the house of the rising sun. Well, I got one foot on the platform, the other foot on the train. I'm going back to New Orleans to wear the ball and chain. Yeah, the red flowers in New Orleans, they go there rising sun. And it's been the ruin of many a poor boy. Thank God I know I'm one. Thank God I know I'm one. Thank God I know I'm one.
This is the dawning of the age of awareness. Welcome to the RealMightyJoe Show. I am your host, RealMightyJoe. So I took yesterday off. I was first of all, it was Monday. I was kind of tired. It was a long day. And then I ended up kind of going off on the deep end. Someone in the comments during my last show pointed out this guy on BitChute Blue Marble Con. He's got a big, long series of documentary. I think I watched about 8 episodes worth or so last night. I got mixed feelings about it, and but I think it's an incredible teaching tool, and I think it's an incredible thing to kind of look at. So the guy's whole thing is all about the flat Earth shit, which I think is one of the most incredible philosophical arguments you can have with a person, because normally when you have an argument with someone, there's a way that at least one person within the two people arguing has seen proof or knows that that's the actual truth. When it comes to whether or not the Earth is flat or round, there's a handful of people that know the truth, that have either been to outer space and seen it or haven't, and but it's not a lot of people. So very few people can chime into that argument and be like, yeah, I know this to be the truth. And it's such a small group of people that do know that to be the truth or not to be the truth, that it becomes a weird conundrum where the average person can't argue whether or not it is true and really understand whether it's true or not. So, so first and foremost, I would say, to me, it really doesn't matter if the Earth is flat or round, because I'm standing where I'm standing on the Earth and there's corrupt people all around me, and I'd rather deal with that immediate situation than whether or not the shape of the Earth is a disc or a sphere. Second, I always have problems with it when I, look into like what the Sumerians knew and what the Vedic culture knew about astrology and astronomy. I believe that they would have pointed it out if that was the case, because they were very well versed in geography and astronomy and astrology. So there's all that crap. But what happens is the guy throughout this documentary gives lots and lots of great information in the same way the Fall of the Cabal lady did. Fall Cabal, if you're not familiar with that series, presents like a pretty comprehensive world history kind of concept. But at the end, she ties everything to Q. So if you're not into the QAnon stuff, then that's a turnoff, right? And so this guy out the gate ties everything to flat Earth. If you're not into that, that's going to be a turnoff. So I was talking to my dad earlier today, and I've been into this shit since before social media existed. Before YouTube existed, I was searching this stuff. So I was searching this shit on the internet before YouTube. Literally searching this shit as like text documents and stuff, when I was in high school. And I came across a document back then that was really awesome. And I've always kind of held it in the back of my mind, and I wish to this day I could find it. I can't. I found it on an old ass website. I would have to use archive and hope that they crawled it. But this person basically pointed out, no matter what you're being told, always pay attention to people and money. People do bad things, and oftentimes money connects those people doing bad things. Beyond that, they're going to try and tie it to aliens. They're going to try and tie it to like radical cults and all these other things. And don't lose focus of a bad person did a bad act and a lot of money moved around. Like, catch the person doing the crime. Don't worry about all the other peripheral crap. It's a distraction. And so when it comes into flat Earth being tied into the history of the Earth, I think it's kind of a distraction. Did aliens put us here? It's kind of a distraction. Like, I think that is the QAnon stuff. I thoroughly looked at it all. What up, Brian? How you doing, brother? I mean, I thoroughly looked at that Q stuff, stuff that I was already familiar with because I'd spent years and years and years researching 99.9% of the crap that was pointed out by Q. So a lot of the stuff it's pointing me in a direction of something. It's pointing people in a direction of something that I've seen or I've read, because I've just been that guy that sees and reads that shit for so long. At some point tonight, I might actually pull up the first episode of this documentary just to like show you how I approach things like that when I view them, as far as media literacy goes. Because it's like, I'll see some stuff. I'll be like, well, I absolutely know that part to be true. I know that to be true. I know that to be true. And then certain things will rub me the wrong way. And I just make a note in my mind about that. And I continue to watch and observe. And when that thing that I made a note in my mind about hasn't been resolved, I go back and I independently research that thing. So I would say just kind of everything in this entire plethora of information that's getting, I think it is. Yeah, I think so. Yeah, the Blue Marble thing or whatever, Blue Marble Con. The name of the documentary is What on Earth Happened. It's 13 parts. it's interesting. I'm about 8 or 9 parts into it. It's kind of why I didn't do a show. I literally spent all day watching it yesterday. But I was like, there's certain whole parts in this where I'm like, okay, yeah, that's a weak argument. That's a this or that, you know. So, but layered with all this very truthful information. And I think that's the easiest way to deceive people is give them a shitload of truth and then run them off track with weird shit like aliens, flat earth, stuff like that. So I would always be weary of that kind of crap. Same thing with demons and all that stuff. You know, just take everything with a grain of very, very coarse salt when we're looking at that kind of crap together. So that was a weird long intro. I have some stuff we're going to look at. Since I didn't do a show yesterday, I got a couple like older clips. I'm just going to pop up a couple things and we'll start looking at some stuff and see what happens from there. But yeah, we got Brand in the house too. So what up, Brian? And we got Andy. We got all the gangs here. The gang's all here. Let's see what we got here. Get rid of this one. All right. This thing is me. That's not very interesting. Oh, this lady. She was. I found this lady on Twitter the other day. I thought her speech was really cool. So we're gonna watch that one. Did I share audio? Make sure I did that right. I didn't even do that. There we go. Share screen. Audio. Yeah, this is some lady just kind of spitting it out on Twitter for about a minute and 30 seconds. Or I think it was originally on TikTok, but yeah, it was pretty cool. So we're gonna watch this lady.
You know what? Do not come knocking on my door talking about any sort of vaccines. Do not do it. It's insane. We've gotten to a point in this country where an administration is tracking people down over not making specific medical decisions. Are the needle Nazis going to show up and ask me if I've accepted Dr. Fauci as my Lord and Savior too? Because they'll get a swift door to the face. For a country that demands equal rights for everything, a country that is known for freedom, a society that continues to promote my body, my choice, it amazes me that we now have this elite group that is getting these freedoms that are being denied to others over their personal medical choices. Kids are being forced to quit college. Service members in the military are being held back. People's individual freedoms are being affected over choices they're trying to make for their health. When the government cares more about their definition of safety than your personal liberties, that's an issue that needs to be addressed. We've lost our ever-loving minds that we are dictating others over taking a shot. Take some damn personal responsibility. It's not anybody else's job to keep you safe. I've said that so many times already. We should be defending each other's freedoms, not trying to strip them away. Plus, it's literally the government's job to protect your freedoms because it says so in the Declaration of Independence.
Yep, I think she said that pretty well. The thing, shit, I don't even know. I just literally clicked the link off. I'll find it again. Some chick on Twitter or TikTok, whatever. But her, there you go, Brand got it. Bam, look at that. Or he posted something. I don't know if it's that or something completely different. But yeah, she you know, I think because TikTok videos are limited to like a minute, like she had to say it so quick, but it's like she spit it out there pretty nice. You know, that's a thing. I got a bunch of weird Twitter clips to show you guys today. That's for damn sure. Let's see what else we got called up. We already watched her. Oh yeah, I got it right there. All right, so hold on, give me a second. I think I can get you a link to this exact tweet. It is not her, it's somebody retweeting her. So I'll just give you a link to this tweet. And actually, this is a person worth following on Twitter. I follow a lot of really cool people on Twitter, even though they keep nixing all the cool people I follow on Twitter. So that's a thing. But here's the link to that lady. Yeah. Or, well, a link to the tweet where I found that lady. And you can go from there. There you go. He's got a YouTube channel. He's got all the things. Man, see, Brand's so much better than me. You guys are great. I don't even know why I bother. Yeah, Twitter ban. Yeah, I mean, you know, Twitter, it is what it is. I'm still on there. I'm actually, like, kind of disappointed I'm not banned off of Twitter. It's like, what am I doing wrong? You know, like, am I not extremist enough? I mean, I've been trying. I literally told Chelsea Clinton, tweeted something today that was so stupid. My response to her was, when you were born, the doctor slapped your parents. You know, like I tweet shit like that all the time to famous people, and I never get banned off of Twitter. So I don't know. I guess I'm not doing it right. I've been trying. But yeah, that was pretty fun. Oh, this is a good one. I can't remember if I showed this to you guys or not. So if I did, forgive me. If you already saw it, maybe some of the other people watching haven't. I think I didn't get it into my show the other day, but I had it called up, so I can't remember. But this is a pretty little fun back and forth here. with some celebrity doctors getting called out about the vaccinators. And it's a pretty fun one. So we're going to watch this.
JB, have I speak? Go ahead.
The devil is always in the details. And one of the problems with vaccines is they've been so great, people overly generalize about them as if they're only great. We looked at other first world countries. We're 34th in under 5 mortality behind such luminaries as Cuba and Slovenia. However, we have 36 vaccines. The top 5, which include countries like Finland, Norway, Iceland, average 11 and 13 vaccines. From 1990 forward, we added 8 vaccines to our schedule. There are vaccines like flu, rotavirus, varicella that have only been picked up by 2 or 3 of the other 30 countries. So what do they know that we don't? Why aren't they picking up vaccines that have been around for 15 years? And why are their autism rates 1 in 1,000, 1 in 1,500, 1 in 2,000? It doesn't take a brain surgeon or an ER doctor to figure out there might be a correlation.
We don't want to be too narrow-minded and say it's only the vaccines and ignore other potential problems.
In my opinion, and this is just me wanting to have an open debate about this, vaccines are really the one thing we have looked at as causing autism.
Yeah, I agree with you.
That is completely bogus.
No,
that is such a bogus statement. How many vaccines have they looked at in these studies? How many? What's the answer? It's 2. How many ingredients have they studied of 35? What's the answer? It's 1. You've looked at 2 of 36 shots and 1 of 35 vaccines, and you're going to stand on the stage and say that vaccines and autism are unrelated? It is the most bogus tobacco science. It's a smokescreen. Anybody who takes the time to read it would agree. I'm so sick of doctors who don't read the studies, who don't know the details, sitting here telling parents and reassuring them that vaccines don't cause autism. It is irresponsible.
And this is the biggest problem and the reason that doctors in this country are frustrated.
Read the
because,
science.
listen, all you're doing is you're antagonizing a medical community that wants to help these kids.
You haven't done the research.
You're antagonizing me. You're antagonizing Dr. Sears. Why would you do that? This show is all about my son. Okay, okay, everyone wants to blame someone, right? Yes, this is what we're trying to figure out here is how to help kids. But all you do when you yell at me on my stage, all you do is anger me.
I'm sorry.
Don't yell at me on my stage. Don't anger me with the facts. Like, what the fuck? Yeah, dude, that dude just literally had like a little kid. Like, that was like a temper tantrum, man. I swear to God, that might even be randomly like, I find like accidental themes in the shit I want to show you guys that I found over whatever a day or two. But I think like temper tantruming is going to be a theme in some of this to some extent. So I did get a hold of the 5 hours of the Sidney Powell Linwood thing. And oh my God, man, it turns my stomach. I watched way more of that than I wanted to. Hey, Devil Dog, what's up, buddy? But yeah, no, yeah. I'm going to play a good chunk of that for you guys tonight. I apologize in advance because this judge just sucks balls. But here, actually, since I mentioned it, let's jump into the opening of this. We're not going to go too far into it. We're going to watch a little bit of the beginning. I'll probably change subjects. We'll look at some other stuff. And at the end of the show, or before I do my inspirational stuff, we're going to watch the ending of this hearing at the end. But just to show you just kind of a feel for it, we'll get a few minutes into like the beginning of this thing because there's all sorts of crap in the beginning too. I mean, it's 5 hours of this stuff. Like, yeah, it's long.
On a request, I would just for clarity.
Get them like
Greg Roll, Scott Hagerstrom.
They're doing all the name announcing.
Your Honor, Assistant Attorney General Heather Meingas on behalf of Governor.
Yes, Your Honor, Mr. Patterson's on the line, Your Honor.
Okay. Everybody's on the line.
Answer as to a line of questioning. Right, I will give all other attorneys the opportunity to comment or add to the
That's
answers
where I want it.
on the
all right,
record.
give me a second. I'm about to load it
Note
up.
that if no other attorney speaks,
Scroll
the
it
court
back just a
finds
second. Sorry.
just counsel.
I'm live doing all this crap with you guys, so it is what it is. My show's not perfect. It never will be, and I don't want it to be. So that part's cool, too. Until I can pay some other asshole to sit there with a computer and call up all the links, it's not going to ever be smooth. That's the truth. All right. So, yeah, all right. We're going to just basically jump in. So they just did the name call, the roll call. She's kind of setting down her limits and rules for like this hearing. it's probably going to start mid-sentence or so, but it's a long-ass hearing, so it's hard to catch like the sweet spot. So we're just going to kind of pull it up about 8 minutes in. I'll put the link in the description for this particular video because it's the only full copy I could find. It actually was very hard to find this.
The Rule 11 allows a court on its own initiative
to require a party to show cause why sanctions should not be imposed under the rule and to impose Rule 11 sanctions if, after notice and a reasonable opportunity to respond, which I am providing today, the court determines that Rule 11B has been violated, if after that notice. Now, I'll tell you, counsel, that I do not today need to rehear the arguments that have been advanced in the parties' briefs at this hearing. I have thoroughly reviewed every filing. After I ask my questions, however, I will give the parties the opportunity to make a brief statement on their own to the court concerning the matter at hand. Now, I ordered the personal appearance at this hearing.
You have to realize that every single person on this screen, besides the judge, is a lawyer.
Because I have questions
so this
that
is
I
very
want
interesting.
To give you the
They're all
opportunity
lawyers.
to
They
answer.
all
I ask counsel to provide
watch Sidney
clear
Powell.
and
That
direct
woman's
answers to
posture
the court's
does not
questions.
change for
And let me
5
be
fucking
clear
hours.
that these questions are not
She
seeking
stares
the
this woman
mental
down for
impressions,
fucking 5
conclusions,
hours. I swear to
opinions, or
God.
legal theories of counsel.
Each question that I ask is directed to all of the attorneys whose names appear on any of the plaintiff's pleadings or briefs. I will not call out any of your individual names unless the question is specifically crafted for a particular attorney, and there are a couple of those. After I ask a question, the attorney best equipped to answer the question may respond. When I've received a complete answer as to a line of questioning, I will give all other attorneys the opportunity to comment or add to the answers on the record. Note that if no other attorney speaks, the court will find that all other attorneys agree with the answer that has been placed on the record.
No, like
Now that brings me, counsel,
that's weird
to a
with
potential
technological
issue,
issues,
as we
right?
now have counsel representing counsel for plaintiffs. The Michigan rules of professional responsibility.
True story, Devil Dog. She was, and acts
everyone
just
on this
like
call
that.
should know.
Prohibit a lawyer from representing a client if the representation will be directly adverse to another client, unless the lawyer reasonably believes the representation will not adversely affect the relationship with the other client. And secondly, each client consents after consultation. Now, at this time, I would like to confirm on the record through Mr. McGlynn and Mr. Campbell to determine, I would like to confirm that they have in fact addressed this potential conflict issue with their clients.
I have, Your Honor, and they have given me their consent to proceed. I do also wish to make an objection so that you have it for the record on one of the statements that you made about proceeding on the possibility of the court's own power with regard to Rule 11 and the show cause. May I briefly?
Briefly, yes.
Your Honor, I believe under Rule 11C that the court can seek a show cause on notice prior to a dismissal. I believe after the dismissal, that is not part of the power that the court retains. So I do object on those grounds for the court's consideration of its own show cause.
Okay, I'll make a note of that. And at this moment, let me ask counsel for the defendants if they would like to respond to that. Any of the counsel. Let me start with Mr. Fink.
Your Honor, the rule itself does not include that requirement. The rule simply says on its own, the court may order an attorney, law firm, or party to show cause why conduct specifically described in the order has not violated Rule 11B. Notwithstanding that, I do want to be clear for the court that, and I believe the court is aware of this, a proper Rule 11 notice was sent to all of the parties, all of the attorneys. I used to grow up hearing a
term called rat fink.
While they made general objections to it, the notice included a detailed motion, which was, with minor exceptions, the same motion that was filed, and we can provide that to the court. We have met all the prerequisites for a Rule 11 proceeding with or without a request on the part or an order to show cause from the court. They have had several months to respond, and the issue is clearly before the court properly today.
All right, thank you, Mr. Fink. Mr. Campbell, let me go back to you, sir. What's the authority for your position?
Your Honor, I believe it's Rule 11C, and if you give me some time, I could probably pull it up, but I wasn't prepared to address the court's inherent, or if you will, the court show cause powers, because we hadn't gotten notice of that coming into this proceeding. So I apologize for that. So I'm going off memory.
There's going to be a common thread of them not having notice of stuff throughout this hearing. We don't have time to watch it all, but that very common thread. So he's like, yeah, I'm not prepared to deal with this because basically you guys just sprung this shit on us in the meeting. So.
All right, I'm going to make a note of that, and if needed, we'll come back to that.
Okay, I'm going to make a note of it.
Need be in writing.
We'll see if I need that. Thank you. All right. Now, counsel, if there are not any other comments at this point on the way that I intend to proceed, I'm going to go ahead and move forward. Is there any other housekeeping that we need to take care of at this point?
Your Honor, this is Mr. Buchanan on behalf of Ms. Newman.
Yes.
I don't believe my client was ever served with the papers at the time in question. Ultimately, she became aware generally, but my client was a contract lawyer working from home who spent maybe 5 hours on this matter. So she wasn't really involved in, when the motions were filed and lawyers were retained and pleadings were filed. So I just want to note that she's aware now. She just recently hired me, and I thank the court for getting my admission process.
And for the record, from what I gather, is that
quickly.
Bill Bailey and Matt DePerno know Emily because they mentioned that they knew someone who was involved in the hearing that was dragged into it, and I can only assume it's Emily from listening to the hearing.
Her role was de minimis, and so she was never, as I understand it, sent the pleadings at the time in question. They were served on local counsel, but she was never part of a law firm. She is listed as of counsel on 2 of the pleadings, the first amended complaint and the complaint, but she was never an employee of that firm. That was something that someone put on the pleading.
I'll fill in the blanks in a minute.
She was a contract lawyer, 1099 employee who spent 5 hours on the matter. I just want to note that for the court. Thank you.
If I may briefly to add to that, I know Mr. Fink will have a response. It's my belief that he did serve local counsel. If he used the ECF for service, there are a number of folks who would not have received it that way. I don't know what he says is service. There is also the factual issue of what was served under the safe harbor provision versus what was filed. That is addressed a little bit in the briefs also, Your Honor, but those same circumstances and situations would apply so that when he says this was properly served and this is a proper Rule 11 motion on behalf of the city, we of course have the initial issue of whether the city as an intervener is a proper party to bring the Rule 11, at least in this matter, if at all. And then secondly, I'm not sure what he means by service, so I don't want my silence to be a confirmation of that. So with that, what they thought the
kind of fill me in where you're confused, and I can try and help sort that out for a second. So what we're looking at right here is a hearing to sanction plaintiffs in a lawsuit. So these people are plaintiffs in a lawsuit. They filed their lawsuit. The defense, from my understanding, is trying to sanction them and disbar them and penalize them all for even like daring to do this. That's what this hearing is basically, is the defense in the case for the state. We have an attorney general. I should have let you do the roll call so you can see all the people in here and stuff. You can watch the entire video. The roll call will tell you who's in here and who they all represent. So there is a lot going on, but basically all these bottom rung people, these people are all representing either the state or this or that within Michigan. Dominion is trying to sue them and stuff, but this is separate from that. This is their lawsuit to try and get it's explained. I think it's coming up relatively well, relatively soon about the entirety of like kind of their lawsuit, because I think the judge attacks the 3 points of their lawsuit immediately. So that might give you a little bit more clarification. So if that clears anything up for you, But if you have any more questions, like, just let me know, like, what you're confused about. If you want to chime in and talk about it, we can. But I'm just going to hit play because maybe, like, as we watch it a little bit further, you know, kind of understand this is a hearing to sanction these people and to disbar them. Like, they're trying to disbar and sanction all of these attorneys. Basically, like, these guys are all in on the lawsuit against them. Obviously, Lil Rat Fink is. Like, most of the other people on the screen are defendants. So
The point of this is a cease and desist.
Kind of, yeah.
Litigation routine.
And trying to strip them of their law license, literally. And the literally it boils down to that woman in the bottom. It's up to her. Like, they're gonna have to appeal it. Obviously, she's gonna strip all of it. Like, she gave him a 2-week continuance. I'll spoil it for you guys all at the end. There's a 2 weeks continuance at the end. They give him only 2 weeks, but it's really shitty. We'll watch the end of the video towards the end of it. And like I said, we don't have time to watch the entire 5-hour hearing, but I do believe the beginning and the end gives you a good nut of, like, kind of what the hell is going on with it. And, like, just, you're going to see maybe in the next 5-10 minutes enough footage that'll give you kind of an idea of, like, the taste of it, if nothing else. But, yeah, does that, like, kind of get you an idea where you're at, Rand? That makes sense?
Yeah, that helps.
But so they're the plaintiffs in the initial case.
I don't recognize, like, most of
during this hearing. It's like, it's ass backwards the way this lady runs it. And CanCon pointed out, like, at the end, like, technically, like, the people that are, like, getting sanctioned don't get the last word in the end of this hearing. And that's kind of fucked up the way it's, like, the defense should always have the rebuttal. And they didn't get that in this. And Lynn Wood gets, like, shit on during this. Like, it's pretty crazy. And Sidney Powell at the end has, like, a power speech. So we're going to make sure we watch the end of this because the end of it is worth watching hardcore. But I think if we go about 5-10 more minutes into this part of it is probably where I'm going to cut it anyway. But I'll give you a good idea of this judge's mentality, you know. So we'll keep going here for a little bit.
Constitution permitted these courts to undertake on behalf of a petition to redress a grievance from a citizen, in this case, not just citizens, but at least in instance of 3 electors. And so there are different ways to approach it.
The procedures were there for them to avail themselves of.
Important part, 3 of his plaintiffs are electors.
In terms of the procedures under the statutes were there. And Judge, if this is a case that my clients, those are the lawyers, misjudged the timeline and got it wrong, then that's what it is. Okay. But that is a long way from anything that could be sanctionable or has been argued by the defendants. And so in terms of issues,
Mr. Fink, I'm going to give everybody, I have one more question to ask about the relief that's been sought here, and then I'll give you an opportunity to speak.
Your Honor, I didn't want to speak to substance. It wasn't substance. It was
okay. What is
concern, and that is, it appears that Sidney Powell has left the proceeding, and at least we don't see her. And I just,
if you take the time to watch this entire video, this is going to be a cock, cunt, hair, fucking weird, dumb shit. Because they're going to basically mandate Sidney Powell stay on screen the whole fucking time at this point. And like I told you, if you watch her, I literally scanned the whole thing. She barely moves and death stares this judge down the entire hearing. She is, like, looking at her like, fuck you to death. Like, I literally see you for the piece of shit you are. Like, the way she's looking at this woman is literally incredible throughout the rest of this meeting. But pay attention to how many people drop off and pop back on throughout the rest of the meeting. We won't watch that much, but even in the amount of time we watch it, Sidney Powell will stay on screen, and the rest of them will jump on and off. The judge jumps on and off. The court recorder's in and out. Like, it's fucking dumb, you know? But they nitpick and, like, you better stay on screen. Watch her scold Sidney Powell. You can see that, like, this woman has a decision in her mind before this hearing ever started, and it's abundantly clear by her body language, her attitude, her tone of speech. You know?
I know we wanted all the plaintiffs to be present.
This is
But
true.
she's here. It looks as if she turned the camera off.
Okay. All right, there you go. Could you maintain the camera, Ms. Powell, please? I'd like to have everyone here. All right, my question to plaintiff's counsel or counsel for.
Well, Your Honor, I apologize. And before you move to your next question, I just wanted to add something to what Mr. Campbell said, if I may.
Okay.
And that is, Your Honor, you asked what is the authority for the relief requested?
Yes.
This court, in the face of a claim of fraud, has inherent equitable authority to do as it sees fit. Fraud vitiates everything. And that is another basis that this court had. I also want to make another point that I think is escaping, particularly what Ms. Mindgast had mentioned. There was no way on this planet that the electors could have used the state of Michigan electoral processes, because that's not what they were trying to accomplish. What they were trying to accomplish was, what are their rights under the 12th Amendment? And what are their rights heading into the vote of an electoral college, which had not yet taken place? And that was the purpose of the TRO, not to have what is typically considered, and that's what you're hearing from the defense, a candidate who loses an election. What recourse does that specific candidate have in order to unwind or preserve his or her position?
Mr. Kleinhandler, do you have any case authority for the proposition of inherent equitable authority to address fraud?
Your Honor, I haven't. I don't have it with me. I did look up, Your Honor, just briefly while we were here. There is and there are many cases, but I would refer you to the United States Supreme Court case, United States versus Throckmorton. It's old, 98 U.S. 61 in 1878. I believe that case states the general equitable jurisdiction that this court has. Fraud vitiates everything, and this court has the equitable power. And I also just want to point out one other thing that Mr. Campbell.
I can't imagine that it's been over 100 years since this is.
No, sorry. That's just the quickest case I could pull up. There are more modern cases, and I'd be happy to present them to you, Your Honor. But
it's a null and void throw-off point to what she just did there too, because case law is case law. Like, if you're going by case law, any case that is settled in court becomes case law, and it sets a precedent. So even if it's been 100 years, that should be a moot fucking point. It just shows you the total disregard this woman has. Again. But we'll keep going. I mean, it's just like, oh, it's been 100 years since it's happened. Like, no, it hasn't. But that particular case codified it, solidified it, and it's been used since to argue cases in the same vein. And that's how case law works. You basically take a case that's already happened and you apply it to what's happening now. The decisions made by the court and it doesn't have to be always understood in that way in the modern time, but you take it into consideration. It is absolutely taken into consideration in case law. If you're going to argue case law like this lady does all day and night, it's like what she just said there is a moot point, because some of the case law she's going to argue later, probably in the middle of this shit that I didn't have the time to watch, is 100 years old as well. So it's just like, it just shows you, again, it's a misdirection technique. This woman doesn't know her law. You have to realize that the quote unquote defense here, which is really the prosecutors here, because they're prosecuting the prosecutors in this hearing, are they're just literally ignoring the Constitution 110%. And the only people mentioning the Constitution are the prosecution, quote unquote, also known as the defense, in this particular hearing because of the way it was run. Let's keep going just for a little bit. I'm not going to play too hard into the beginning, like I said, because I want to show you the end. And I want to divulge into some other interesting shit I found on the internet before the show's over. So we're going to have a few more minutes in this direction at the beginning here and just kind of see where it goes.
That's just one case that came up quickly while we were here.
That's fine. Okay, let me stop you, Mr. Kleinhandler. I'm going to move on. I need to move on, and I want to ask, and it's relevant too. It's really a segue to what you're saying. So let me just ask. This is a timing issue, and the question from the court is that why did the plaintiffs wait for almost 3 weeks after the election to assert challenges regarding voting machines and election procedures, some of which plaintiffs themselves claimed were well known far before the November 3rd election, and others of which were known by the close of election day. And so again, we're talking about state procedures that are there, that were there when had been in place for the plaintiff's counsel to access. What was the reason for the delay? Let me direct that to Mr. Campbell. And
That's
all,
folks. We've already expressed, my clients have already expressed it in the written matters, both before this court and also through the United States Supreme Court filings. The reasons for the delay had to do with, one, the gathering of that information. The court says, well, all this was well known. It wasn't known that the election was going to go as the election did until the election, right? And in fact, it's the day after the election, because when people went to bed on election night, there was one result anticipated and another came out, at least in Michigan, the next day. So there is a reaction time to that.
Certainly, but 3 weeks?
Judge, if anything, and it's said already in the briefing, it was filed too early. It shows you, again,
they gave her an 800-page filing or something. She's bitching like that it took them 3 weeks to make it. Again, just contempt, disregard, talking down. She's got her high horse. She's got her gavel. She can only be removed by impeaching her, which we need to do yesterday, and show these motherfuckers that they're not immune to the law. She thinks she is the law. You are not the law. You are misrepresenting and misinterpreting the law as a circuit judge. You need to be disbarred. She's presiding over a hearing of people being disbarred. The woman in the bottom right-hand corner needs to be disbarred, in my opinion.
Again, you've seen the number of lawyers who did contribute. It's not that there was a lack of effort to get it done. It's not that there was a lack of direction to get it done, although this is a novel proceeding. We candidly admit, now it's not completely novel. It was pursued in other states, but this was really the first of those states that it was pursued in. But it was believed to be done in good faith by everybody. And I haven't talked to Emily Newman, but I've talked to her counsel. It was believed to be done in good faith by everybody, and they worked diligently to get it done. And as Mr. Kleinhendler has said, and as I will reiterate, the fact is that part of the theory rested on certain processes being completed by the state so that the electors could raise their particular and specialized causes of action and claims.
That's really super important. And I guess that's kind of the point I'll leave the beginning of this off of, because what he just argued is three of his plaintiffs are electors. And until they committed the crime, if you will, or did the deed, they couldn't have filed the paperwork. So they filed it 2 days after they did the deed, is what he will say or just said. Let me see if he says it yet. He might have said it just 2 sentences later.
So there is a ripeness issue here, along with the clock that the court says is running for 3 weeks.
Any response from defense counsel? You can start, Mr. Fink.
Absolutely, you're right.
I literally don't want to listen to that guy's response, so we're not going to go there. We're just going to go ahead and stop sharing that for now. We're going to go back to that later in the show, and we're going to watch the end of that hearing, because there's a lot more that goes on there. But basically, you see how that started. It didn't get any better. It basically went the way you expect from there. It was pretty bogey. Let me see if we got anything else specifically called up. Oh yeah, we got to do this one real quick. We're gonna do our buddy CanCon did a short on locals. I'm gonna pop that up real quick. Well, he did a little thing on Fox and was making fun of Fox, and it was pretty cool. So we're gonna play this. And if you're like me and kind of got involved in this tribe through locals or through CanCon, CanCon's mainly on locals and Odyssey now. That's locals seems to be his main channel. He's really focusing on locals a lot, but he also has his Odyssey. So check him out on both. Absolutely, CanCon's the dude.
What's up, guys? Today is July 12th, 2021, and I'm going to try and keep this one under about 5 minutes. So I literally just got done making a couple other videos, doing the editing and all that, and a pop-up appeared on my phone, and Doug TeNapel is live on Locals, and I'm like, what? So I immediately jumped over to Doug TeNapel's Locals, and he is in fact live streaming, or he was a little bit ago, live streaming on Locals. That is awesome. Hopefully he'll give me a call in a couple of minutes and explain to me how he did it. And hopefully his support liaison gets in touch with my support liaison, and we get live streaming here on CanCon Locals, because it was awesome and I'm excited about it. But I do want to talk about a little story that I saw, and it's nothing crazy, but I just want to point out the glaring hypocrisy of Fox News, who just came off of Friday night's Tucker Carlson show, where I was like, hey, welcome back, Fox News. You missed a hell of a last 7 months. But they swamped out again at CPAC this week, and let's just jump right into it. So here we go. This is an image from CPAC, and we got to get the right screen up, and boom, there it is. And if we zoom out on this picture and we take my ugly mug off the screen, you can see down at the bottom, this was live during Trump's CPAC speech. It said the voting system companies have denied the various allegations made by President Trump and his counsel regarding the 2020 election. So we'll put my screen back up because I do like looking at myself sometimes. No, I'm just kidding. I don't. But anyways, so the craziest thing about that statement right there is I jumped immediately after, and I jumped on the Donald Trump CPAC 2021 speech transcript. I hit Control F, if I don't think you guys can see it because it's a little too high up there, and I typed in Dominion. And that tone means that Dominion does not appear once in his entire speech. So let's try Smartmatic. Doesn't appear once. Let's try ES and S. Doesn't appear once. Let's try voting machines. Doesn't appear once. Fox News, what are you doing? You guys are literally spineless cowards. What are you so afraid of, Fox News, that you put up that disclaimer when he never mentioned Dominion, Smartmatic, ES&S, or voting machines? Why? What are you getting out in front of, Fox News? You guys are going to be the ones walking around with egg on your face. Just when I thought you guys might be back because Tucker read Daryl Cooper's montage report, his thread from the other day, and I thought you guys might be back, you turn around and cower like a bunch of sissies again. Gutless, spineless sissies. You're right there with the RNC if you watched my last report in my book. Worthless. Absolutely worthless. I got nothing for Fox News, man. I'm so glad I canceled my cable. I encourage you all to do the same. All right, guys, stay frosty. God bless each and every one of you. God bless America. Make the fortune cookie country pay for this.
I love CanCon.
And true story though, I did delete the Twitter app, Facebook app, and Instagram app off of my phone, which is great because I barely use any of them anymore, and all of it I can use just as easily in my browser function if I need to use it. I freed up so much space on my phone. It's incredible. I highly recommend freeing up your phone space by deleting Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. I still have YouTube on my phone just because this channel, but once this channel migrates to wherever the freedom people will go, YouTube is the next in line for deleted apps. So it's just really fun to delete those big apps off your phone and just be like, yeah, I don't need to actually look at Facebook that much. I don't need to look at Twitter that much. It is what it is, And I feel like when you have the app on your phone, it's more of a compulsion to check it. You know what I mean? Whereas if you have to go to the browser to look at it, you only do it once or twice a day. So it's already moderated my screen time on certain apps, which is nice. So
nice.
Yeah. I recommend doing that. Absolutely. And And I'm trying to do my best to watch stuff, you know, when it comes to live streams and stuff on other services. But my biggest issue with that is that most of the other services have their comment section to their video ratio. It's like the thing with YouTube is you got the video on the top, the comments rolling in the bottom. No other app has that yet, and they really need to get that going. Like that's a big thing for like our tribe, the people that like spend a lot of time with each other in the comments and comment with each other. Like it's distracting for me when I'm sitting there trying to like talk with everybody I want to talk to, and I can't physically see CanCon's face or anybody's face because they're scrolled up because I'm trying to be in the comments, you know. And that seems to happen on Rumble and Odyssey and all those other apps. So. And I guess if you get the Odyssey app or whatever, I tried to do that crap. Indy was saying it was better, but for whatever reason, it wouldn't let me watch CanCon's live stream on the app. I could watch other stuff on the app, but I couldn't watch live streams on the app. So I don't know if that's just a glitch with Odyssey and its live stream or whatever's going on with that. But yeah, man, I like CanCon because you don't hold back, man. And I actually really, to be honest, like CanCon now that he's not on YouTube because like he like did so hard that like trying to tiptoe and censor. I've never done that from the gate, and I never will because I think it's just dumb. You know, like if they want to take you down, they're going to take you down. Like it's not really like boiling down the words we're saying. It's more about like them just wanting to take us down, I think. But here, we're going to pop over here now next to Rusty Shackelford's goddamn YouTube. He posted a bunch of shit last night. So the weirdest thing that he posted this yesterday, I guess, or the day before. He has this weird video coming up where it says it premieres on 10/26/21 at 6 a.m. Right, there's 21 people waiting. When you click on it, you actually get a video preview, and it basically looks like Epstein Island at night. There's really no sound on it. But when we go to the description, it's like SPWWL, like VCheck, mate, I like all these descriptions are all weird. Like, yeah, but it's like it looks like all this coded crap, right? Yeah. But it's in like all their videos. Like if you go down, like the one before it, like it was like right before it, it's like Jason Bourne with a completely like unrelated song, and it's like all this kind of like hashed out like Q looking crap. So like is this some psyop crap, some LARP crap? I have zero idea. Like I followed this channel originally because they're the ones that posted all the Epstein Island like drone footage, which like was like, who the hell is doing this? And at the time we all thought it was John McAfee. Apparently there's a post or a live chat within this channel at one point in time where they said that it wasn't them and they weren't John McAfee. So I don't know if this is just someone who's connected to him or connected to who or what, but like I don't know. They dropped this video.
Hi,
We've
I'm
all
Fox
seen
San Antonio's Jessica Headley.
This
And
was
I'm Ryan
yesterday.
Wolf. Our greatest responsibility is to serve our Treasure Valley communities, the El Paso, Las Cruces communities, Eastern Iowa communities,
Mid-Michigan communities.
We are extremely proud of the quality, balanced journalism that CBS 4 News produces.
But
we are concerned about trouble and irresponsible, one-sided news stories plaguing our country.
The sharing of biased and false news has become all too common on social media. More alarming, some media outlets publish these same fake stories without checking facts first.
The sharing of biased and
false news has become all too common on social media.
More alarming, some media outlets publish these stories simply aren't true without checking facts first.
Unfortunately, some members of the media use their platforms to push their own personal bias and agenda to control exactly what people think. And this is extremely dangerous to our democracy.
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 I think this is the most truthful these people ever are because we're a constitutional republic and their idea is to make us a democracy. So it's like, it's literally like they're being honest. It is very dangerous to their democracy that we share information with each other and don't parrot like they do. But yeah, so old Rusty had that on his shit yesterday and everybody's seen that. But like, like Indy pointed out, it's all about the descriptions of these videos are like real freaking weird. You know, like let's go.
Hi, I'm
like,
Fox
again,
San
this one.
Antonio's Jessica Headley.
And I'm Ryan Wolf.
Our greatest responsibility is to serve our Treasure Valley communities, the El Paso, Las Cruces
This one didn't
communities,
really have a
Eastern
weird
Iowa
description.
communities,
Hold on.
Mid-Michigan
But
communities.
The next 2 or 3 do. Like this one does. This has a weird ass description and a weird ass title name. Like look at all this stuff. Truffle pizza tonight. D5.
No food.
5 eyes. 4 wives. 17. Like it's like some real QE type crap, you know. And it's like, is this legit or not? Like if anybody like was aware of what was Q, like supposedly it's less than 10. And only 3 civilians. But if one of them, the civilians, was McAfee, I would not be surprised. He had dirt on everybody. He literally had dirt on everybody, you know. Yeah, it's this whole trouble piece of lying to your like wife thing. It's from this whole video. Yeah, I didn't even start at the beginning, but like this is from Spy Games, the movie Spy Games. This guy like basically like does this code at the beginning where he's like pretending to talk to his wife or some shit, but he's not.
Commander Wiley, sir! Package received. What's about it? We're on for tonight. Roger, sir. Understand. Operation Dinner Out is a go. Confirmed. Correct. Dinner Out is a go. Dinner Out's a go. Hell of a way to speak to your wife. Why do you think they keep dumping him?
Yeah, shit like that. So I don't know. Fucking he posted that video yesterday. It's like a 5-minute clip. Posted this one and he posted like 45 minutes of some other shit. Like I don't even have time to watch it all, but there's like if you look at the descriptions on these videos, they're really still all real weird.
To me, even in uniform.
Yeah, like live free, my brother, Godspeed.
We're allowed to sit there and eat.
Here, watch this one from the beginning. It's only 2 minutes. Watch this whole one. He posted this yesterday.
Ever since I got here. And you know, I should have stood up and said something the moment that you threw us in with the enlisted men instead of quartering us properly as officers. But it's okay. You see, colored men expect to have to jump through a few hoops in this man's army. Archer knew that. We all did. There's a camp right outside of Macon, where I'm from, and there the Army sends the German POWs. Puts them to work picking cotton. But what's strange is every once in a while we'd see them walking through town, going to movies, eating in diners. But if I wanted to go to those same movies, I had to sit way off in the balcony. And those diners were closed to me, even in uniform. But German POWs were allowed to sit there and eat. And this must have happened to at least half the guys at Tuskegee. But the thing is, we just kept telling ourselves that no matter what, as long as we did our jobs, it'd all be worth it. Because, hey, the war would end, we could go home and be free to walk down any street in America with our heads held high as men. So that's what we did. We did our jobs. We served our country, sir. Archer and I. And what you let happen to him, what you allowed to happen to him, was appalling. So is this.
Or else he put that up and then he put up a much longer one. He says, you know, Yeah, I don't know if it's hinting at what. I really don't have much of a comment on it. Make of it what you will, I guess, basically.
Yeah, I get the impression that it's either operating as a number station or pretending to operate as a number station.
Right. It's either trying to drop some code or trying to like rally some people, or it's trying to be a psyop and confuse people. It's like one of the two, right? Or it's just I mean, it could be being bot crawled because apparently, if you look at Rusty Shackelford commented on his own videos, but only like a couple of comments and they're repetitive bot-like comments. So we don't know if like that person's commenting or not. It's just confusing. When it comes to the Rusty stuff, I'm just going to keep an eye on it. That's what I did with Q. That's what I do with anything else. Like, I'll keep an eye on it. I'll be aware of that. I'll keep that on my radar. Like, interesting. I'll read that, Yep. But beyond that, like, I don't really know what to make of it. Like, I was talking to Goddess Awesome. She's like, what do you think of this shit? And I'm like, I really don't fucking know. I honestly have no fucking idea what the hell's going on. Like, if I'm going to be honest, no idea. It's like a blind deer, no idea.
Yeah. It doesn't seem to be intended to be intelligible to the layman.
Yeah, I feel like it's very coded stuff. So, all right, let's see what else random crap I found that was interesting on the internet. We're just gonna go ahead to my Twitter feed for a second. This is a battery station that catches on fire. Electric car charging station, shorting cells. Fire can't be extinguished with water. Shit, I scrolled too far. All that stuff. No recycling. We'll take the car's remains because of the toxic chemicals batteries contain. Feel the green. Now, also watch, this is absolutely sped up footage. So if you watch the second count, so the fire doesn't erupt as quick as, it would appear. Yeah, the truck got back up. Just burned down. Yeah, so anyway, green energy and all that stuff. Yeah. It's a real problem that they won't take those cars back. They literally they don't recycle these cars. Once they're dead, there's shit they can do with them. Landfills won't take them. The batteries, the strip mining and the batteries and all that stuff, the environmental implications of trying to turn everything electric the way they're trying to do it is not possible. I'm just going to go ahead and say that crap. Oh, here's a weird little Freudian clip from our little favorite Ginger.
And the president,
let me go back.
We of course are monitoring closely. You saw the statement the president we put out in the president's name this morning, in his voice, of course, conveying his support for the people of Cuba. We of course are monitoring closely. You saw the statement the president we put out in the president's name this morning.
Put out in the president's name this morning. Yeah. Who the hell who's the we? I really want to know that. And then we got these douchetards on a plane to D.C. Democratic lawmakers are leaving the state to break quorum to stop Republican voting bill. That was yesterday. The Texas governor said that he was going to arrest them, and then the House voted and said, "Yeah, go get him." With the sergeant at arms of the House actually has the right to go after him, so that's pretty fun. This is some pretty awesome meme gold I'm about to share with you for 49 seconds.
I stand before you today to declare the silent majority is stronger than ever before. Is there anything better than a Trump rally? What about a sleepy Joe Biden rally? Wait, you're getting nervous, man. Oh, no, not enough. I want to be. Get out of here. Get out. Come on, man. Ron Dogface Tony shows it. He was only a good vice president because he understood how to kiss Barack Obama's.
That's just great.
I stand before you today to declare.
Somebody said so funny. Oh yeah, John Leguizamo losing his fucking mind. This is fun. See, this is why I like just like going ahead and like looking at my own Twitter on my show. Cause I'm like, yeah, I like literally like crazy shit all day. John Leguizamo losing his fucking mind.
Now remember this: race is a social construct, okay? Because there are no racial differences in intellectual ability or emotional maturity. None of that exists because, again, we're just people. And for better or worse, we're all the same. All right? And also, can you quit trying to ban the teaching of critical race theory when not one of you shitheads can define it? Because we all know what you really want to ban is criticism of white people theory. And that isn't a thing that exists. So don't tell me to calm the fuck down. Now remember this: race is a social construct, okay? Because there are no.
Now, call me stupid, but doesn't he literally actually ruin his own argument there? Like in the beginning, where he's like, race doesn't exist, but then like, yeah.
He's practicing doublespeak.
Yeah. How many Miller Lights deep are these people? You know, with their shit. They got the you see the picture. They got their Miller Lights there in the corner. That's pretty fun. You know, on their little plane ride to freedom. Oh, do you want to see some cringe shit? Watch the shit that happens next. These guys do some cringy shit. Hold on, let me see. Oh, that's a weird thing. Hold on, we'll go back to that. Where's my cringy video? There's a really cringy video up in here. Yeah, this shit's like straight cringe with the Democrats. Watch these people and just cringe with me.
Standing there when a new Voting Rights Act for this century is there, and the rights that were struggled, that so many lives were taken, so much courage was demonstrated, are preserved once again. I turn it back over to you for the questions, and thank you very much for all that you and all of your colleagues are doing here today.
We will overcome. We will overcome. We will overcome someday. Deep in our heart, I do believe we will overcome someday.
Thank you, Steve.
Yeah.
Standing there.
If that was rough. You cringe. I don't know what the fuck will. Hold on. There's some other shit down here we got to get back into because I skipped some shit. Hold on. So this is a really fun one. And this doesn't surprise me at all, right? So revealed, several suspects in Haiti's presidential assassination were FBI and DEA informants. As a friend of the hit squad member claims, the plot was backed by Washington. None of that shit surprises me. You can check out that Daily Mail article. We don't go to have to go into it because it's the Daily Mail article, so it's literally all said in the headline and the rest is ads. So there's literally no point in clicking on that shit. But yeah, that was fun. Actually, this is pretty cool. Yeah, we'll watch. Here, we'll do this one. So Mike Lindell talking to these guys at CPAC. That's pretty cool.
Supreme Court is there to protect our country. Have you watched Absolute on 9-0?
So many
he watched it. Zachary watched it. That's pretty good for a journalist. You know, that in our country, I compliment him. Let me tell you something. I'm going to tell you, and I'll tell everybody. In our country's history, every single elected official, if there's fraud involved, there's not a statute of limitation. They take the guy that won, they put him back in office, and it's just never happened at the presidential level. We're doing a quo warranto after the whole world sees on the 10th, 11th, and 12th that we have the packet captures for the whole election. And they're going to go, whoa. And then the Supreme Court will vote 9-0 to pull this down. And you consider, go, come on, Mike. You know what? I'm just telling you that what's going to happen. And if it doesn't happen, if they don't watch it, that's where the whole public's going to go. You have to protect our country. You have to protect our country. If they don't do it, then you got states like Arizona. Right now, the audits are done, or they're getting done. Georgia, Wisconsin, Michigan, Pennsylvania, all them audits will be done. When they find, like, I don't need them. I don't need them. I don't need those. I'm just telling you, when those come down too, that's just, let me explain this. He's got a good point. with the packet captures, everybody. You do. Yep. No, I know. I'm leaving in 2 minutes. Right. Yeah, you guys. I'm going to tell everybody really quick. I'm going to tell everybody really quick. The packet captures we have, we do not need those audits, but if you have the packet captures, what should we do? But if you didn't have them, all them audits are going to prove the exact same thing. So you have two things here. You have two pathways to pull this election down, and it's getting pulled down.
Now I will pass on because I hang, Major Dave, Bill Bailey. Both of them have reservations about the information that Mike Lindell has. Major Dave specifically had some questions on. I believe that they actually tried to, they screen capped a lot of the information that he put up on the screen in his documentary. Major Dave did, or Bill Bailey, one of the two, and I can't remember who did it, to be honest. But somebody looked him up the IP addresses, and they couldn't find them. They were fake and stuff like that. So there's some issues with Mike Lindell's material to some extent, but that, like he just pointed out in that own statement, it's not needed. The audits will point out the difference. Here is an answer on new FBI allegedly used at least 12 informants in the alleged plot to kidnap Michigan Governor Gretchen Whitmer, according to a new filing in court. Now, if you remember that case, because I actually read it, I think that the total number of people was 20 or less. So you're talking about more than half of them were FBI agents. Like, did the FBI do that? Is that every false flag? It's starting to sound that fucking way, especially with the Haiti crap. All right.
I'm reminded of the Spider-Man pointing at each other meme.
Yeah. Oh,
they're all FBI.
This is a fun one. So the Biden administration is now planning to release a list of conservative social media influencers that were followed by January 6 defendants that questioned the integrity of the 2020 election. The list also includes members of Congress per White House officials. The database they are reportedly building partially consists of Pepe and Soybe and Comfrey Dongta memes. White House comments. They are using any bit of material they can online or otherwise to use as proof of radicalization. Printed pages of Telegram and Discord conversations numbering in the thousands. YouTube comments, whatever. Look for this early in September, and I love this guy. This is why I retweeted him. This guy right below. He's like, "Oh, nice. I have some fire YouTube comments." I was like, "Yes." Retweeted. All right. Yeah, so then the Texas House votes to send law enforcement to fine dozens of absentee Democrats under the warrant of arrest if necessary for blocking voter integrity legislation. That did happen. I think there's a video somewhere up in there about that. All right, what else we got on here? This is an interesting one. Gain of function virus stuff. Let's go ahead and look at this. This is my homeboy from North Carolina. My home state. Oh, look at this guy. Look at this creeper. Did you give the virus to boost the strength in it?
Is that we changed its antigenicity. And what that data tells you is that any vaccine or antibody that you've made against the original virus from 2003 wasn't going to protect the public against this new virus if it should emerge in the future.
Se guardassimo il genoma della vostra chimera, capiremmo che era stata fatta in laboratorio?
Anything that we build in the laboratory has what are called signature mutations. It's like a little, it's where you signed your name almost. It says, you put in these mutations and it says, this was built from material in the Barrick laboratory.
Ma se non vuoi lasciare questa firma, puoi costruire in laboratorio un virus indistinguibile da uno naturale, giusto?
It is correct. You can do it without leaving a signature, yes. We're using any of the 3 or 4 different approaches for coronaviruses that were developed by different researchers. You can leave no trace that it was made in a laboratory.
You hear that last line? Yep. Yeah, they don't have to put that signature in. They could absolutely make it so you can't tell it was made in a laboratory. Totally admits that. And actually, if you click on this guy's thread and go into it, there's another link below and all that crap. Easiest way to access all the information while I'm showing you the crap on my Twitter liked feed is shit I found on my Twitter. Click on my liked feed. You can see all these things, all the original tweets. So do it
So
that
what we're
way.
looking at here are two different batches of votes.
This is Fulton County, Georgia.
5162, batch 234, image 59. And scanner 5162, batch 235, image 19. And what you can see is that, like on this vote right here, we've got this exact same little tail that shows on both of them. And if you think that maybe that's,
I've kicked it with Dangerous After Dark a few times. Those guys are awesome.
Coincidence. Here's the next one that shows, you can see Republican is written there, Republicans written there. This is ballot 61. This is ballot number 2. And then each one of them even has this little dot in the Fannie Willis.
Okay. And do you have more of those?
We have the entire batch. There's 62 images in here total, and I didn't even get a chance to go through all of them. But these are the most obvious ones where it's clear that it's the same. This one's got the little tail on the side.
And so what happened? So do you know the numbers of these total batches?
I don't remember what the totals were when the batches. I don't think they weren't disparate. They were fairly close. But the simple fact that they
So if
occurred.
you see that little bubble right there, this is one image. Here's another image. Exact same. And then the batch number.
Indy, I haven't watched the end of that video. I haven't watched the whole video yet. It's on my radar though.
Image number 92 matches
this
the
one.
same scanner 5162. Batch 234.
This is Georgia.
Image 30.
They're talking about. This is from Fulton County, Georgia.
Duplicate ballots. The entire batch is scanned several times.
Yeah, it's Fulton County, Georgia, right there. They've got like a laundry list of shit they've been finding in Georgia. Georgia seems to be. You have to remember that Stacey Abrams ran the Fulton County, Georgia election in 2020. Stacey Abrams. That name sound familiar to you? Because it's familiar to me. Was that the last one I got on there? That's the last one on my like list of crap. Cool. All right. So, give me a second. We are going to go back to our stupid hearing. Yeah, that sanctions hearing. That's going to be our next stop on this train. So, so feel free to, reactions to what you've all seen so far, feel free to get in on that. We're going to go back and watching some of that shitty hearing for a little bit. And then me personally, if we're going to spend another probably 20 minutes to 30 minutes on that crappy hearing with Lynn Wooden and Sidney Powell, I'm going to need some good inspiration by the end of this video. So if anybody wants to send me something inspirational to play for everybody at the end, I love good, inspirational, happy stuff to end the show, because the whole thing is, my idea with this show is we're always going to cover like topics that are intense. It's going to piss you off. Like if you're a normal thinking person, most of the shit will upset you. So it's always good to end on a high note. And so that's why I kind of like to go back to our like inspirational, cool stuff towards the end. In the end, so asking how many duplicates in that one batch, they said they were looking at 65 images. That's just one batch, though. There's numbers that popped out of Georgia today. If anybody can find a good link to that, I'll play it or check it out. But they're talking about some numbers already out of Georgia today where there's a lot of shenanigans, and Pennsylvania's starting to pop out some numbers of crazy shenanigans. Just deleted Trump votes in like the 400,000 range, like insane stuff. I mean, when they show like the whole different map where he won like a shitload more states than he did and all that kind of crap, like we're really looking at that as a reality. Like if we actually like sort through the bullshit here. But yeah, a lot of duplicates. He was just showing a few, but they're blatantly obvious. And the cool thing with the kinetic scanning is the kinetic scanning will pick up subtle things. Like even if you did as neat as possible to fill in that circle with a pen, no matter how neat you did it, there's still imperfections with it. There's still flow of ink lines within that fully blackened circle that can be seen. Higher, the high resolution scans and the kinetic artifact detection detect things that are higher than the perception of the eyes. Oh, Snowflake's atomic mother. Oh yeah, we could do that. Yeah. I'll absolutely play some Tom McDonald. I'll probably try and copyright strike me, so I have to like pause it a few times throughout the song to comment on it if I play any Tom McDonald, because he's got the independent market cornered enough that he gets me in trouble on YouTube. Apparently, last time I did one of his videos, they yelled at me. They gave it back, but I got yelled at. You know, I'm every time they've yelled at me on YouTube, I've contested it, and if they like don't give me the right answer the first time, they always give me a chance to appeal and contest it again. I just can appeal and contest it again, and I'll just do that like indefinitely until they give me what I want or whatever. I'll give 10 fine bucks, you know. And like I said, I don't give a shit about this channel. I started this like 2 months ago. Like I at this point, I have like over 120,000 subscribers, which I'm extremely thankful for. But like, all you guys are hardcore motherfuckers. You'll follow me wherever the hell I go. So I could give 10 flying fucks about YouTube. You know, so that's why I've never censored my shit. I'll get people on here. They don't have to speak in code words. It'll die when it dies, and when it dies, I won't resurrect it. I don't give 10 flying fucks. But we're gonna go back in this crooked hearing, and I'm gonna fast forward like a shitload to the end of the hearing here. We're gonna go in around the 5 hour mark. Let me see. It gets pretty good around 5 hours. So we're going to start around there. And we're going to watch a good chunk of this. I'll pause it a few times, but there's a lot going on in this shit.
Good question, sir. Is there anything that you think that you would like to, do you think that there will be any benefit to a supplemental brief on behalf of plaintiff's counsel?
Your Honor, yes, is my answer to that.
What is it? What's the issue, so I can see if I would agree with you, sir?
Well, you have highlighted various portions of affidavits and asked them for context and for an understanding. You've essentially grabbed several, and again, I hope you don't find this as an unfair example, but it's my view. You've held up puzzle pieces and you've asked us, where does this fit? Where does this fit? I think we ought to have the opportunity to show you the cover of the box that shows where those pieces fit. I'm sure that will be helpful to you.
Okay. Let me say this. Okay, let us continue. Mr. Buchanan, is there anything, sir, you'd like to say on behalf of your client, Ms. Newman? I understand, sir, your position that she did not have a lot of involvement in this matter.
That's all I would add, Your Honor. She didn't sign any pleading. She never made an appearance. There was no intent for her. She was a contract lawyer, 1099 employee, basically, and her role was very limited. And although Mr. Finks pointed out he sent the motions for sanctions to Ms. Powell at that address, she never received those, and she was never given the opportunity, obviously, to make any decision on how to proceed or not proceed. I got into this case just recently because she just received notice of this hearing.
Let me ask you, I'm sorry, go ahead, sir.
That's it. Her role was just very limited.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Buchanan. Mr. Fink, let me ask you a quick question. Are you disputing notice requirements to as relates to Mr. Buchanan's client?
Absolutely. We
Okay.
sent the letter.
No, you don't have to. Thank you so much. What I would like to do is give you, Mr. Fink, an opportunity to provide a supplemental brief on on this whole issue of who knew, who received notice of your moving for sanctions. And I would give anyone who feels that they have not received the notice an opportunity to file a supplemental brief on that. All right. And we can talk about time frames. I don't want to be unfair. But we
May I make a suggestion?
Could I make one quick comment?
Hang on.
Yeah, I'm not disputing Mr. Fink's assertion that he sent his motion to Sidney Powell's office.
Okay.
The thing is, my client was working from home as a 1099 contract employee. So, you know, whether as a legal matter, whether that constitutes notice, I don't know. I'm just saying that, and I'm not questioning Mr. Fink's representation at all. I'm just saying that she never received them after that. So she had no role in like whether to go forward or not in this case, or, you know, in the safe harbor. But most importantly, I'm emphasizing, I don't know if Mr. Fink disputes this, is she worked 5 hours on the matter. She played a very limited role. And so I don't think Rule 11 covers that level of involvement. Thank you.
Mr. Fink?
Your Honor, we can file a brief, supplemental brief that'll just indicate what we did do. I believe that we used the address on the pleadings,
Okay.
but we'll see.
Okay, so let me do this, right, so you, Mr. Fink, I am asking that you file a supplemental brief identifying those individuals who you believe have received notice of sanctions, and then and the time frame in which those notices were provided, that notice was provided, and then whoever is who's subject of that briefing can also respond.
Your Honor, it would be helpful, and I think probably save some paper and time for everybody.
Okay.
If we could just find out, no argument is necessary, but which plaintiffs' attorneys claim they did not, or believe they did not receive notice. So we'll only address the ones that say they didn't get notice.
Okay,
Mr. Wood said so.
Oh, right, Mr. Wood. So he's going to be able to, and Mr. Campbell is representing Mr. Wood, correct?
To the
Yes, Your
extent
Honor.
that anybody's capable of doing that, yes, Judge.
Okay. So, all right.
I'll take those. I think, Judge, what I would say is, based on the fact that I've discerned from today's hearing that my position may be somewhat unique to the others, I'd like to have an opportunity, and I will do this in conference with Mr. Campbell, and I may have to get independent counsel to file the formal documents and pleadings for me to seek a dismissal based on lack of jurisdiction and lack of a factual basis upon which to bring a Rule 11 or Section 1927 action against me. So I'd like to be able to address that. I'd also like to be able to address this issue of notice.
All right. I'm going to do something just funny for you guys, just because I want you to pay attention to Sidney Powell.
So I'd like to have at least a couple of weeks, because if I have to,
because we're going to get to another, I'm actually going to scroll a few minutes forward in a second. But pay attention to this panel as you look at, see how you can see my screen there where like you can see Sydney? Look at that woman's posture. She literally like moves around the screen. She's just like death staring this lady, like doesn't fucking move the entire damn hearing. Like she did that at the beginning. She's like literally just like, they yell at her to stay on camera and she's just like literally like doesn't react very much. It's like, she's like hard girl holding on death stare. And hold on, let me give you guys a little action clip. We're going to scroll up a little bit in this meeting because again, this is super long, but there's some stuff around here worth watching.
It's filed by the Attorney General on behalf of
Sidney Powell is like
Whitmer.
Fucking not moving, man.
More than demonstrate that sanctions are warranted here. And we would request that you order sanctions against all of the attorneys who have failed to exercise
Yes,
their
I did see
responsibility.
that. I will speak to that. Yeah, it's some
Thank you,
crazy
Ms.
shit.
Hurwitz. Mr. Patterson, are you still on the line, sir? It seems to be that you are. Would you like to say anything in closing?
I am.
Yes, would you like to say anything in closing?
I would, just briefly.
Thank
Mr. Campbell indicated that they did not intend to foment revolution or insurrection by this filing, but merely foment partisan advantage, I presume. And I think that has been achieved by the use of the 982 pages of affidavits in a federal court filing. It's important. It's important that it was filed in a federal court under the judicial process. That's how it will be cherry-picked. The 980.
You hear him panicking? You hear him panicking? It's important. It's important it was filed in that federal court. because that's how it's going to be. Yeah, you're right. It was filed 900 affidavits in a federal court when you guys said there's no evidence. They're skirting around shit like this. I watched more of this hearing than I care to fucking share with you guys. I'll put it that way. And I literally hate the way it went down, but let's keep going.
Pages will be interpreted throughout as a partisan advantage, and the cherry picking of each particular or any particular fact will be utilized for that partisan advantage. To me, that is the abuse that this filing has caused. It is an abuse of the judicial system. And it seems to me that the grant of the motion for sanctions is critical to reestablishing and minimizing the damage that this filing has done and the abuse of the judicial system in attempting to support a partisan advantage. So I would ask that the court grant this motion.
Thank you, Mr. Patterson. Mr. Fink.
Thank you, Your Honor. Before I begin, I'd like to say just broadly a quick overview of what I would like to do. I would like to respond. I will respond to what Mr. Wood indicated. As the court will recall, we said we'd save that to the end. I will respond to what Mr. Wood indicated regarding his non-participation. I also do want to address Mr. Roll's affidavit because that's something that we have never briefed or discussed. And then finally, I'll conclude. But before I do any of that,
before you begin, I have a question for you regarding Mr. Wood's his position. Is it necessary, do you think, sir, to take care of that now, given that you're going to be doing a supplemental briefing on this? Is this dealing with what participated in the case?
Yeah. Yes, I can limit it to very few words.
A part I skipped is that she gives them all so basically everybody has to file a supplemental briefing on both sides. She literally gives them only 2 weeks. Linwood asked for the transcript for this hearing to be made available to him and his attorneys before the 2 weeks starts, and she wouldn't give him that. Give him a hard 2 weeks, hard 2 weeks, hard 2 weeks, and then she gave him a 10-page limit thing for this, not including attached affidavits, but a 10-page limit for the argument. And so that's why she's now buttering him, saying, do you have enough pages to do that? When they were arguing, we need more pages up here. We skipped that part. And she's like, no, you don't get any more pages. And then she's like, oh, will you be able to argue that within 10 pages? Like, oh, well, I can be brief, Judge. So, there's just so much bullshit going on here. I'm just giving you guys the shit you missed, but.
Okay. I'll limit it to very few words. I appreciate it, Your Honor. I'm not certain what our supplemental briefing will involve. Will we be of course, I'm going to brief on the notice issue. That we do that up front. We'll do that quickly. Then the question is, I'm assuming we respond to their supplemental briefing.
If you need to, yeah, you can.
Okay. What I'm suggesting though is maybe that's the time that I address in writing the issues regarding Mr. Wood. I'm trying to avoid creating confusion for the court.
Good. I'm going to issue an order after this hearing is done, and it'll be laid out in terms of time frames and exactly how I want you all to proceed. But go ahead.
Okay. Thank you, Your Honor. Your Honor, at the outset, before I speak on the substance that we've talked about, there's one personal matter that I want to address.
Okay.
And that is, with the court's indulgence. Well, this is important, Your Honor, if I may. With the court's indulgence.
Hold on, this gets fun because remember, we're 5 hours and 22 minutes into this hearing, and this douchebag fucking defense lawyer that is acting as a prosecutor, just watch this bullshit unfold over the next, oh shit, where are we at the timestamp? I'm just going to let it play for because I saw it pop up the way it did, and it's really effective that way. Yeah, 6 minutes. We're going to watch about 6 more minutes of this bullshit, at least. And then we're definitely watching Sidney Powell's closing arguments. I mean, I'm basically watching this video at the end of the show. We're going to do inspirations and stuff at the very end, as we always do. But, man, just watch where this spirals down. Give it the 6 minutes and see where this goes.
I want to take a moment to honor the memory of our late partner, Daryl Bressak. as some parties here are aware and some are not, Daryl Bresek had pulled the laboring oar on most of the briefs filed in this case. And tragically, Daryl died suddenly from a heart attack on the night of January 24th, right in the middle.
Come on! Sorry, I did a weird cough. I don't know what happened. Sorry, my bad. Keep going.
Of these proceedings. In fact, we had a reply brief that we filed on January 26th. Daryl was an attorney who took his oath very seriously. He was a brilliant, dedicated, passionate, and ethical lawyer. And he cared so deeply about the work that he did. I miss him for many reasons, but today he's in all of our hearts in this office and at the city, because we know how deeply he felt about this matter, and I only wish that he could be here today. And I appreciate the court's indulgence, so I could say that it's been on my mind for days.
Certainly.
Thank you, Your Honor. Now, I will limit my response regarding Mr. Wood. The reason I need to talk about it a little bit is it ties into the Roll affidavit, and that's this. Mr. Roll filed an affidavit, and when I say he filed the affidavit, he prepared an affidavit, he signed the affidavit. It was filed in this case on behalf of all the plaintiffs, and it was filed by Ms. Gentilla. Now, in that affidavit, he tells us point blank that the litigation was, in his words, spearheaded by Sidney Powell and Lynn Wood. And while those are his words, I'm sorry.
I'm sorry. I was just telling Mr. Campbell that I would not allow him to speak until you're done.
Thank you. Now, while those are Mr. Roll's words, his words were submitted to the court by Ms. Lambert Gentilla, and none of the lawyers whose names appear on these pleadings contested anything in his affidavit. Now, Mr. Roll, as of now, is represented by the same lawyer who represents Lynn Wood, who represents Sidney Powell, who represents all of the plaintiffs' counsel. And I think we have to assume that when something is filed, a representation is made by one of the attorneys in this case, we have a right to believe that that we can rely on that. What's happened here is, and just to be clear, I understand Mr. Campbell is an expert in ethics, so he certainly would not represent Mr. Roll and Ms. Powell and Mr. Wood if their positions and interests were adverse. And this representation didn't start during this hearing today. They filed their appearance a little while ago, and the responses on the motions were filed in February. We've been following this case for months. They've been following it for months, and nobody's corrected this. Now, what's happened in this case is very frustrating, and that is the plaintiffs have played a very strange game of passing the buck. Mr. Roll, Mr. Gentilla, and Mr. Hagerstrom say they're not responsible because someone else prepared the documents for filing. But
now, Mr. Fink, let me stop you. I appreciate your advocacy here, but I mean, you're going to have an opportunity. I'm giving you that opportunity, sir, to bring it up in the brief. And the reason that I'm stopping you is because it is going to be difficult for your statements to be said and me not give the other attorneys an opportunity to respond. And I really want to be fair. And so I would just ask you to wrap that aspect of your remarks up, sir.
Okay.
Okay.
We can, regarding the Roll affidavit, without advocating, I would just point out that in that affidavit, he does indicate that he was to hold the fort until a pro hoc vice application was accepted, and of course was never filed because it doesn't apply. I will move beyond that, and we'll leave that for briefing later. And instead, I'd like to conclude more broadly.
Thank you.
That is this. Today, Your Honor, we are all grateful that the court is holding this hearing because today is a very important day. It's been about 6 months, a little over 6 months, since our nation faced what threatened to be the greatest constitutional, pardon me, our greatest constitutional crisis since the Civil War. On January 6th, that insurrection, which occurred in the Capitol, which horrified most of us, maybe not everyone on this screen, but most of us when we watched it. And that insurrection can be directly linked to the lies that were spread by the attorneys in this litigation. Shielded.
Your Honor, I object.
Shielded.
Mr. Wood, I object to that type of speculation.
Okay.
I sense a guilty conscience.
Mr. Wood, hang on.
No, it's not
Mr.
a guilty
Wood.
mindset. It's a person that doesn't want to be accused by you unfairly. No lawyer
I haven't
here is
said your name
responsible
yet, but I will.
Okay,
I'm sorry, Your Honor.
No, but you did in
Okay.
you
Mr.
did in
Wood.
your pleadings, and you should be.
Mr. Wood, I asked for silence, Mr. Wood.
This is a fucking court hearing. This is literally the court hearing. You hear this shit going on? Watch. Just watch.
Mr. Fink, finish up quickly, please.
Okay.
I had an
Duly noted.
attorney. I lodged.
Duly noted. Duly noted. Go ahead, Mr. Fink.
These attorneys, shielded by the sanctity of judicial proceedings.
Judge, I'm sorry to interrupt. The court reporter is trying to get your attention.
Okay. I'm
Wait.
sorry. Andrew, Miss Wabik, where are you? Oh, yes.
Sorry, I'm not talking. But all right, so the court recorder jumps in here. Her screen she's been so low on her own screen, you don't even know if she's fucking there the whole time. And this just seems sus to me, man. Court recorder comes in here, and let's just see. Let's just watch.
So, counsel, we've been going since 8:30
Oh, my goodness.
with 20 minutes,
Uh-oh.
and you're all interrupting each other. And that's the kind of record you want for a case like this. With interruptions, dashes, unintelligible. So please, can we finish up, or I'm going to have to get somebody else to finish this last little.
Oh, Miss Wabik, let me apologize and say that I certainly don't want to. I know that you're under a great deal of stress, and please always know that you just need to tell me that you need to take a break. You know that.
Yes,
Mr. Wood and everybody else on this call, I am cautioning you, do not speak when another attorney, another co-counsel, another brother counsel.
It's laughable again, when another attorney is speaking, because literally every person on the screen's an attorney. Literally, this is like the most batshit, doesn't know shit about the law judge talking to a group of fucking elite lawyers. Yeah, I don't even know what we're watching here.
Sister counsel is speaking. In the Eastern District of Michigan, we have civility principles. No comment, Mr. Campbell. Mr. Fink, you may proceed, and I'm looking for you, sir, to wrap it up.
Okay. I'm sorry.
Do you have water there that you can drink? Because you sound all right.
That's okay.
Go ahead.
Thank you very much. The reason we brought this proceeding, the reason that we brought this motion, is that these attorneys
well-being the entire hearing, right?
Wielded the weapons afforded to them by the privilege of being admitted to the bar. And they wielded these weapons in this case to abuse the processes of this court in a devastating way. Earlier today, Mr. Campbell was talking about what this complaint did and didn't do, what it was and wasn't intended to do. To be clear, the complaint was clear. It explicitly said that they sought in the complaint an order requiring Governor Whitmer to transmit certified election
Again,
results.
I bring your attention to
state
Sidney
that
Powell.
President
The
Donald
woman
Trump
doesn't
is the
move.
winner of the election.
She's a fucking
That's
rock.
what they were seeking. Now, that said, when we filed our Rule 11 sanctions motion, yes, we definitely talked about all the misrepresentations, the failure to do due diligence, the inadequacies of the expert reports. But what we focused on was we filed this motion on January 5th, one day before the civil insurrection in Washington. In our motion, we explicitly reported to the court not just what we said were lies being spread in the pleadings in this case, but the vile and dangerous messages that were being broadcast by the attorneys in this case on social media. We raised the critical question. We said, why was this complaint not dismissed or amended by the plaintiffs once this became moot? And we said, in light of the court's decisive ruling on December 7th, what purpose could this lawsuit serve? We answered that question, in which the court's indulgence, I'm going to read, mostly paraphrase, quickly read from one part of our complaint, our motion, because this was filed on January 5th. And on January 5th, we wrote, initially, this was one of several lawsuits used to support calls for state legislatures to reject the will of the voters. When the Michigan legislature did not attempt to select a slate of electors inconsistent with the will of the voters, this lawsuit took on a different meaning. On January 5th, we wrote this. It was then used to support arguments for the United States Congress to reject the Michigan electors on January 6, 2021. We then went on to say, and most ominously, these claims are referenced and repeated by L. Lynn Wood and others in support of a call for martial law. That was before the violence occurred. Now, we went on to say the continued pendency of this lawsuit.
Just to speak of the fuckery of this court proceeding, because up here we got homeboy Dick Dickinson asking what does it have to do with January 6th? Nothing. And normally in this case, the people, because they flipped it on its head, and the prosecution is the defense and the defense is the prosecution, in this particular hearing, the defense gets the last say, which is Mr. Ratfink. And so they basically like fuck him out of a say. Up in, I think we've already skipped past the part where Linwood tries to respond or not. I'm not sure. He may do that in the next minute or two, and he might not. But at some point, Mr. Linwood tries to respond and is denied his ability to respond. This video will end with Sidney Powell's statements because she is the last voice on this video. So it ends with her talking. But we got less than 10 minutes left. So bear with me, guys. It's a lot of shit to take in. And this hearing is bullshit. I watched almost the entirety of it, and I also watched a really long documentary yesterday. That's why I didn't do a show yesterday.
Exactly the harm addressed by this court in its December 7th, 2021 opinion and order. By undermining people's faith in the democratic process and the trust in our government, this lawsuit has been used to delegitimize the presidency of Joe Biden. One day later, that ominous prophecy came true. To a great extent, because of the lies told in this lawsuit, even today, millions of Americans believe the big lie that Joe Biden didn't win this election, that somehow the election was stolen. And there's no evidence to support that, but they don't know that because people think the judicial process has some fairness in it. People think if lawyers say it in court, it must be true. Even Mr. Campbell said, if somebody said it in court, we should be able to repeat it again, because after all, it was said in court so we can repeat it, or at least present it to a court so we can repeat it. Now, nobody can undo what
Sorry, I have myself muted just for like higher sound quality every time I hit play on these videos. But like, Literally, the motherfucker does not understand case law. He's like, because they said it in court means that we can bring it back up in court. It's like, literally, that is the definition of the case law. Are you a fucking lawyer or not? Like, holy shit, I'm not a lawyer and I know that shit. What the fuck, man?
What happened that day. But because of the lies spread in this courtroom, not only did people die on January 6th, but many people throughout the world, many governments and people throughout the world in the United States came to doubt the strength of our democratic institutions in this country. Now, we can't undo what happened on January 6th, but this court can do something to let the world know that attorneys in this country are not free to use our courts to tell lies. So today, we ask this court to issue the strongest possible sanctions. And to be specific, we seek the following meaningful relief. One, the taxpayers should be reimbursed for the extraordinary expense that was paid to defend this litigation, both by the state and by the city. These lawyers should be punished for their behavior. I use that word advisedly. Their behavior was sanctionable and they should be punished. Three, whatever sanction this court imposes should be strong enough and significant enough to deter future misconduct, assuming the court comes to the conclusion that we believe it will, that there was misconduct. And four, these attorneys should never again be allowed to appear in a court in our jurisdiction or frankly anywhere else. And because of
these attorneys spoke the truth and hurt my feelings. We don't want them to ever be able to be in court ever again. Like, dude, this fucking guy, rat fucking fan.
of that, because of the way these lawyers have dishonored our profession, because of the way that these lawyers have taken advantage of this court and this courtroom, we believe that the most important sanction is for this court to refer all of these attorneys first to their own state bar associations where investigations should be conducted and proper disciplinary proceedings should occur. But just as important, if not more important, we ask this court to refer to the Chief Judge of the Eastern District of Michigan a recommendation that these attorneys be barred from practicing in this district ever again. And that applies to all of the attorneys here. Your Honor, I may have gone a little too long on the end, but I really appreciate.
Now, if we want to get technical with language, because we got language and it applies to all attorneys there, that also applies to himself and all the people fucking representing the other side. If because of the way he said it, if you want to go by true legalese. So more power to you. You want to disbar yourself, buddy, but that's basically what you just said. You're a fucking idiot. I can't believe these guys get paid more than I do. I should be a lawyer.
Appreciate it. It's been a very long day, and we really appreciate the court's indulgence.
Thank you, Mr. Fink. And I'm going to now hear from Miss Mindgast. No.
Mr. Wood, he mentioned my name several times.
Excuse me, Mr. Wood. Let me stop you. Mr. Fink, I'm not going to allow you an opportunity to respond to Mr. Fink's remarks. We're moving on, Miss Mindgast. Excuse me?
I'm sorry. He referred specifically to me.
I do understand that.
Like I'm entitled to due process to respond.
No, you're not. I gave everyone an opportunity. I gave certain.
I think the record shows.
Mr. Wood, this is not a debate. I am moving. I am not. Listen, let me warn you right now. I am not granting your request. I am moving. I am not. Listen, let me warn you right now. I am not granting your request to respond to what Mr. Fink said. I am moving on, and I will now hear from Miss Mindgast. Madam, proceed.
Thank you, Your Honor. Heather Mindgast on behalf of Governor Whitmer and Secretary Benson. Just briefly, Your Honor, because it's clear we've all had a long day. I appreciate the court's time and attention to
Reminder of our news story earlier that we witnessed. You may or may not have watched this earlier, but 12 of the people that were involved in the kidnapping complaint against Gretman Whitner were all FBI agents. FBI set up the foiled kidnapping plot was over 50% FBI agents, well over 50% FBI agents, and they were the main organizers and antagonizers that all came out today. Defense for Gretman Whitmer right there, this lady.
These motions. I echo many of the
Sydney's
comments
about to drop some bombs.
Council
We're gonna
Fink
play it to the
said.
end.
As the court knows, we've moved for sanctions against Ms. Powell, Mr. Roll, Mr. Hagerstrom, Ms. Gentila Lambert here, Lambert Lynch Gentila. So we've done a segment, and as the court knows, our basis for our motion is Section 1927 in the Court's Inherent Authority. I think nothing today that we've heard from plaintiffs has changed the arguments that we've made in our brief, that we've ably demonstrated that such sanctions are warranted under Section 1927 here. It's plain that plaintiffs multiplied this case far beyond that when it was moot and should have been dismissed. As we've laid out in our briefing, they had really no response for this made-up idea that somehow their case was reinvigorated on December 14th. And we've also asked alternatively for sanctions under this court's inherent authority. And part of that is showing the proper purpose for this litigation. I think that's been clearly demonstrated through our arguments by Mr. Fink and through our briefing. And so with that, we would request that the court grant our motion for sanctions as we've written it.
All right, Ms. Meingas, thank you. Council, I want to thank you all for being here today. This has been a long day, but it was all very necessary. This court will be issuing an opinion and order, but in the interim, I will be issuing an order that captures the tasks, if you will, the opportunities, if you will, that the court is giving counsel to address the issues that we've discussed here today. I will take, Ms. Powell, what is your question? Unmute.
Yes, I'm trying, Your Honor.
Yes.
I would like to speak to all of these issues and reiterate the points of our briefing. We're not waiving anything. We object to virtually everything Mr. Fink has said. I have practiced law for 43 years and never witnessed a proceeding like this, including representing attorneys in sanctions proceedings themselves. I take full responsibility myself for the pleadings in this case. Ms. Newman, Mr. Wood, Mr. Johnson, and local counsel had no role whatsoever in the drafting and content of these complaints. It was my responsibility and Mr. Kleinhendler's, not theirs. The affidavits in support of the complaint are valid. Were we to have an evidentiary hearing, we would produce the witnesses to testify to those affidavits. This is not the kind of proceeding in which the affidavits can be challenged. They weren't even required to be attached to the complaint. The very fact that we attached 960 pages of affidavits reflect how seriously we took this matter, how concerned we were about the constitutional issues that we raised on behalf of electors who are themselves mentioned in the Constitution. We had a legal obligation to the country and to the electors to raise these issues. It is the duty of lawyers in the highest tradition of the practice of law to raise difficult and even unpopular issues. The fact that there may have been even adverse precedent against us does not change that fact. Were that true, there would not have been a decision called Brown versus Board of Education. We have practiced law with the highest standards. We would file the same complaints again. We welcome an opportunity to actually prove our case. No court has ever given us that opportunity. Instead, we are met with proceedings like this brought by Mr. Fink and others who are themselves the ones who have abused the process for political gamesmanship and their political purposes. And this is one of the proceedings that leaves the American public with no confidence either in our election system or in our judicial system.
All right, thank you for those remarks. As the court has indicated, I will be following up with an opinion and order a little bit later. And in the interim, as I said, I will issue an order referencing supplemental briefings and timeframes. I want to thank once again council for appearing today. It has been a long day. Again, it has been a necessary day. Mr. Flanagan?
Thank you all. Court is adjourned.
Like, seriously, fuck them all, right? Like, absolutely. That was like, if like definition of a kangaroo court is that, and everybody in the room knows that that judge is an asshole. Literally, the people that are milking her and sucking up to her and she's sucking up to them, they know she's an asshole. And everybody else in the room is an elite lawyer that knows she's an asshole. And Sidney Powell ripped her a new ass at the end. Absolutely. And that shit will be appealed. Whatever the fuck that lady decides, that shit's getting appealed. So her point is irrelevant. Again, radical Obama appointed judge acting that way. Do we want our court system to be that way? We need to impeach that woman yesterday. We need to absolutely make a motion, make a movement. We all got the movements. We got the affidavits. We got the power. We got the numbers. We got the communication. They're doing everything they can to take it from us. But we need to utilize that and take that type of judge out. You are impeached. You are not practicing law. You are disregarding law. Earlier, like, she put a limit on their fucking responses, 10 pages. How is that even legal? You got to limit it to 10 pages. And she like, I'm going to make it 10 pages. I'm going to make it 14 days. I'm going to, like, every time she makes one of those decisions, she's like, I'm going to give you this. It's like you can see her just like, pussy getting wet with the fucking power that she's been given. And I fucking hate that about people. I absolutely hate anybody that abuses power more than anything. Anything. I cannot stand or tolerate a bully. You know, my entire life, when I was a kid, I was little and I wasn't very tough, you know, and then I grew big and I studied martial arts my entire life. And that was a game changer for me, you know, as a teenager and as an adult. And as a result, you know, I've spent time in my life. I actually have taken pleasure in bullying bullies. Somebody bullies someone and I see someone picking on someone, I'm like, I will literally go and antagonize and pick on that person. And I will bully that person. And I will. And I will take pleasure in it. Because, you know, the guy they're picking on can't do that, but I can. The bottom line is if you start some shit with me, I'm going to put you in a fucking hold position and you're going to beg me to let you go. And that's just how it's going to fucking go down. Like, I literally don't give a fucking flying fuck who you are. You know, like, you can be like, oh, Marine, military, this and that. My brother was an infantryman in the fucking Marine Corps. He's one of the toughest people I ever have met in my entire life. He's an excellent shot. When it comes to hand-to-hand combat, I will kick his ass every fucking day. And I'm 5 years younger than him. And that's just how it is. You know, some people are elite gymnasts. Some people are other things. I'm really good at just fighting, you know. And I can teach it, you know, and that's it, you know. And everybody needs to know that. Like, at this point, we need to know how to fight with sticks and rocks. And if you think I'm fucking stupid or telling you some bullshit, I'm not. Look at what's happening in Cuba right now. We have people fighting against an oppressive regime, an oppressive government that's been in control of them for over 60 years. They talk about 60 years, but that oppressive government that took power 60 years ago overthrew another dictator. And they ended up being worse. But the way that they sold it was there was a dictator already in place for like 20, 30 years, and then they overthrew him, you know? So, I mean, like, you're talking about people that have been really under a dictatorship for closer to 80-something fucking years that are rising up, but they're fighting against police with bullets and tanks, and they got fucking sticks and rocks. And that's the fucking reality. And if you they keep saying, man, I'm getting all pissed off. This is freestyling, but seriously, you know, fucking Biden there talking about you need F-15s and nuclear bombs to fight the government. No, we don't. No, we fucking don't. Look at what happened in Vietnam. Look at what happened in fucking Afghanistan. You know, the most sophisticated militaries on earth will always still be susceptible to homemade fucking tactics. And people with heart. You know, people that don't want to give up their land and don't want to give up their home aren't going to fucking do it. you know, and what they're trying to do, what they are fucking trying to do to us right now is a nonviolent overthrow, you know, and if we get violent as the pushback, we're the asshole, we're the bad guy. And that's our test as people, because people have done it peacefully and we need to maintain that and do that. But if a person fucking throws a rock at you, you fucking throw a fucking goddamn boulder back at that asshole. I'm not talking eye for an eye. I'm fucking talking 2 eyes for 1 eye. They fuck with us, we take 2 of theirs. And that's how we have to fucking have the mentality. If you touch me, if you try and harm me, if you kill one of mine, I'm killing 2 of yours. I promise you that. I fucking promise you that. And if you kill me, 3 of me will pop up. And I fucking promise you that. Call that extremist. Call it whatever the fuck you want. But I will never raise the first fist. I will never throw the first punch. But I will throw the last punch every fucking time. And the people who stand with me will do the same. This shit is insane. This shit is literally insane. We are at the precipice our forefathers were at. We are living in that. We are absolutely living in that. They just want to lull us to sleep before they fucking do what they're going to do to us. But every little chip away at our freedom is a chip away at everything that every person that died for this country fought for. And if we fucking let it happen, we let them die in vain. And that shit, I'm not fucking okay with. I'm not fucking okay with it. And I will never be okay with it. And I'm not alone, and more than half of this country feels this way. And we will not let a tiny minority of fucking radical extremists overthrow us and what this country was founded on and what we will continue to create for our children and our children's children. We will not tolerate this. We will not stand for this. Bottom fucking line. I will die so that your children can live free and have a nation. My father's 80 years old. He's a veteran. He already swore his oath. And he said at his age, he's willing to fucking die to make sure that your grandkids fucking survive. You know, everybody is in this fight. We're in this shit to win this shit. This is not a fucking joke. This is not a political game. It's not about, oh, I can get in trouble, I can go to jail. No, it's like, will my children actually have a fucking country to live in? Oh, we got Big Chap in the house. What up, dude?
What's up, bro?
Big Chap's still on his band, man.
How you doing?
What you got, like a week left on your band or some shit?
I come back 2 days, I believe, Thursday.
Oh yeah,
What's today? Tuesday?
I checked your Odyssey before I went live just to make sure you didn't put up anything new, but
Nah, I haven't put nothing today. I made a video for my son, but that's about Five Nights at Freddy's. That's what he's into, so.
Oh yeah, man. Well, dude, you're a hero in our fucking tribe, man. Your videos are just slapping, dude. Like,
yeah, it's pretty fun making them, man. I had to teach myself. I've only had this computer for like 3 months, 4 months, I think. Before that, I did everything on a little Android phone, just chatting in the chats and whatnot, watching everybody.
dude, your videos, your like compilations, like that stuff you're working on, man. You got an absolute future in this shit, man. You ain't going away, man. You need to get involved in people's like political campaigns and shit, man. Like, we all got to create this network, right? Like, so I'm trying to meet people. I'm trying to introduce people to people. Like, I think that's the main thing I can do to contribute to the movement. You've got these beautiful videos. I've got just me being an asshole, and people seem to like me for some reason. So that's what that is. But
oh yeah.
But like, you know, like you get like some of these like, dude, man, you got that meme magic, as we call it, man, from Kekistan, man, like pure from Kekistan. That is some straight Pepe meme magic, man. Like, your just videos slap, man. They absolutely.
Sweet, I appreciate it. I appreciate it, definitely.
The man that did my opening credits, if anybody who's watching doesn't know specifically.
I made a little video for Karamo. She's running Secretary of State of Michigan.
Oh yeah.
I did that one for Josh Barnett. That's like a little hype video.
Yeah, that one was exactly.
But I mean, no, I don't know. I just doing them because they were fun. I didn't really think,
I mean, you're doing it to do it, but like the thing is,
Right.
like the ability to edit videos the way you do, where you draw an emotional reaction from your choice of imagery and like the music and just like where it hits and how you do it. Like that's not something. If you just started doing that, that's not something that comes natural. Like that's some gift you got. If like
It's growing up watching MTV my whole life as an 80s baby.
You're an 80s baby, me too. 84, man. Yeah.
Yeah, growing up watching MTV inspired me, I guess.
What year in the 80s you from?
I was born in 79, but I grew up in the 80s and
Oh,
90s.
79. You're the same age as my brother. Yeah. Hell yeah.
Yeah. 79.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. I'm a Gemini, June baby, man. Yeah.
I think I'm a Capricorn, if that means anything.
Like, so
I don't
here's the
even
funny
follow
thing,
none
right?
of that stuff.
People think about all the weird shit, there's an old quote, right? So millionaires consult accountants, billionaires consult astrologers. Have you ever heard that quote? And I believe it was from one of the Rockefellers, or I think it was a Rockefeller that said that.
It makes sense looking at everything going on today with the whole thing being spiritual and whatnot.
Well,
you
the
know?
weird thing is if you actually know the time and place of a person's birth and you know how to read the charts, you can get crazy intimate details about a person if you know how to read it. You know, it's all diagnostics. So I studied Ayurveda, which is Indian natural medicine, which is one of the forerunners to Western medicine, actually. So there's Western medicine comes from Greek medicine, which comes from Unmani, which is a blend of Indian and Chinese medicine.
Oh yeah.
And so, like just with diagnostics in general, and like all these different things, it gets crazy, man. I could talk for hours and hours and hours about all that shit, but just in general though, when it comes to like astrology and shit like that, like I don't know if you're familiar. Like obviously, a lot of the people that follow this are Christians, so I speak to the cult of the Magi. You know, the cult of the Magi are in the Bible.
I've heard of it, yeah.
So the cult of the Magi are the guys that found Jesus, right? So it's like three kings that come from like three different countries, and the reason why was that they were all in the same group called the cult of the Magi, which is an ancient cult of wisdom tradition that spanned the known world at the time, and they were all following the stars, looking for what would be called in Jyotish Mahatma, or a great soul to be born. And so they knew, that at this time in this place, according to so what they would do is they write astrology charts for people that aren't born yet, right? So they basically figure out if a person was born at this time and place at this time, they would have all these qualities and it would mean this, right? So like all the astrologers sat around and thought about this shit. And they're like, well, if a person's born around this time at this place and this, then they're going to be this. And that's how the cult of the Magi found Jesus originally, following that North Star, And yeah. So I mean, like, it's
you saying that you referring to like the three wise men?
Yeah. The three wise men specifically were the cult of the Magi, according to the Bible. Absolutely, 110%. This is your book. I've read everybody's books, man. I read all the books. but,
Right.
Whatever.
Oh yeah, they all cross reference. I know what you're saying.
Yeah, it's straight up in there. Yeah, and but one of them, but they all studied. It was, they studied astrology. They found them through the stars, the alignment of the stars. Right. How they found them, And what I'm saying is, in Vedic astrology, one of them came from the Far East, and those guys literally would write charts for people that didn't exist yet. They're just like, yeah, if somebody gets born at this place and this time, it's going to be like a person, like they're going to have like a life, and do some shit.
Brand saying that there was a whole posse of them. They just brought 3 gifts. They probably did have a like a little crew.
Frankincense and myrrh, to reflect the different things. Yeah, for sure, absolutely, yeah. We 3 kings, everybody knows that.
Oh
shit.
yeah,
right. So those are they're all members of the cult of the Magi, though, and this is absolutely available knowledge. What was I gonna go on that? Fucking thing, fucking born in Jesus thing. Oh yeah, so he disappears, right? In the Bible from the age of 12 until 33, right?
Jesus.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, that's when he gets crucified when he's 33.
Right? So again, we'll talk about theories or whatever, but there's a good solid theory that during that time, the members of the same group that identified him when he was born came and got him and taught him, you know.
You know what? That 33
And
levels of the Masonic order is significant.
Man, it goes heavy. Hold on now. So apparently he disappeared to Tibet, is what we're told, which is China, like, you know, tries to say isn't a country and it's part of China and all this shit. And Dalai Lama's in exile. Dalai Lama, our current Dalai Lama is a snake and all that other crap, but whatever, same as our current Pope. But you know, fucking all that shit. But supposedly he disappeared to Tibet, and there's temples and Buddhist temples in Tibet that have the signature of a person named Saint Issa. His name is Issa, which is actually how you would say Jesus' name in their language or whatever. And he arrived at the age of 12, left in his 30s, and came back in his later years and lived well into his 90s, and he had scars of crucifixion. And they talk about him in Tibet, and he's a Westerner that was a saint in their tradition. So maybe potentially, again, after the anointment and the rising or whatever, maybe he didn't actually die on the cross or whatever. You know, they anointed him with oils, which represents what's called a Kaya Kalpa technique, which is like a regenerative technique. He was in a cave. That's actually a thing. They do sensory deprivation and do all these like herbs and all these things to like reheal the body and realign the body through ancient medicine and all this stuff. So like potentially he could have survived the wounds on the cross and been revived and emerged a number of days later as a living person that people witnessed, but then knew he had to get the fuck out of there. And that's basically kind of what happened.
For the record, I just disavow all of this.
I know you do. I know you do.
Definitely heresy.
I know you do, and you can call it heresy all you want, buddy. I'm just saying these are theories out there about what is going on with it, you know. But you know, like I said, these again, I approach it as a theory, and to be honest, when I talk about Christianity, you know, I admittedly call Christianity Christian mythology. Because it is mythology, just like everything else is mythology. If you're going to call the Vedas mythology, if you're going to call the Celtic tradition mythology, then your book's mythology too. And we can approach it all as mythology, and then we can discuss it. And so that's kind of my approach to it.
What about this, Joe? What if there's one correct story, and every group is interpreting that story as to how they view and what they put into their lifestyle and what their surroundings are?
Go back to the good book, right? The Tower of Babel. What happens? If we all knew the same language, we could reach the heavens, and it's dangerous. So they shatter us and make sure we can't speak the same language.
Yeah, but God, we all speak the language of God, no matter what ethnic language we speak.
Thing is like, you know, when people say, here's my contention with Christianity. There's the two, and a lot of Christians don't subscribe to this, so this isn't all Christians, but there are a lot of Christians that hardly say, and very hardly say, you cannot be saved if you don't know the name Jesus Christ, you know, and you cannot be saved if you don't go to church, right? There's lots of people that say that kind of shit, right? Bottom line is, prayer is just as natural to a human being as breathing. And I'll put you into a memorable situation as a child. Now, I wasn't raised in religion, you know, specifically. I wasn't raised with any specific religion. You know, it was basically open to me to do whatever I want. That was how it was presented to me as a kid. But what I will say is that, like, anytime you're in like an oh shit moment, like, everybody's religious, right? Like, you know how to pray, even though you don't know how to pray if you, like, think you're fucked. Like, as a little kid, you're, like, crashing your bike, you're going head over tea kettle. You pray in your own head without even knowing how to pray at the time, right? Like, oh, shit, I hope I'm okay. Yeah, like, simple prayers like that. You're like, oh, God, I hope I'm all right. Like, I hope I survive, you know? But that is the motion of prayer. And it's just as natural as breathing. And I don't think it belongs to any religion. And what I believe that Jesus was telling people when I read the book is he says, I am the one who says I am. I think it's the most important entire line in that entire fucking book. When he told you who he is, I am the one who says I am in all caps. Now, if you don't know who I am is in all caps and you're not seeking that regularly, then you're missing his point, right? Like Bruce Lee pointed out, my finger points towards the moon. And I can say the word moon, and you can be distracted by the word moon, and you can be distracted by my finger and miss the glory of what the moon is, right? And so it's the same fucking thing when Jesus is talking about God. Everybody fascinated with this guy, Jesus. Well, he's telling you to fucking worship God. You know? He didn't want you to worship him. He wanted you to worship God. He's the Son of God. He's just like you. The whole thing is they think that this Son of God thing is exclusive to Jesus. We are the children of God, in my opinion. And if Bram wants to call that heresy, go ahead, man.
Yep. Just for the record, I'm going to say that's heresy again.
Yeah, that we're the children of God. Fine, man. That's cool, man. And I love it. And that's Bram's record. Like, I knew it. Like, I literally knew that in the back of my head. I was like, Bram's going to say this is heresy. But I think that he was telling you that you could be that, right? And now he says the only way to heaven is through me, right? That's the only point ever he mentions that in the entire fucking Bible. The only way through heaven is through me. But who did he just tell you he was? He's not the man, the flesh, the body standing before you. I am the one that says I am. So the only way to heaven is through the one that says I am. And that's my opinion on the book as I read it. And I read it, you know, and that's what I got from it. And I continue to read it. That's still what I get from it. I actually get it more from it every time. When I read the words in red, that's all I get from it. Is just I am, the big I am. He's pointing you to that, telling you that. He's telling you he is that. Remember, when you read the red words of the Bible, Jesus is not describing something outside of you. He is describing you in your most personal sense, from my opinion. Is that heresy, Brand? When Jesus says the words in red, he's describing you? When Jesus talks, like when he's talking, like
I think it's disingenuous to make blanket statements about that.
I'm just curious what you think he's talking about. Is he referring to something that you can never be, or is he referring to what he wants you to become?
I think a lot of the teaching is about what his followers can become.
Right. So, like, wouldn't he want you to also stand right next to him eventually?
Yeah, that's scriptural.
Yeah. So, do you think you have to die to do that? Like, he never said that. You couldn't understand what he understood in your lifetime. Is that impossible from your perspective?
There is a type of death that is unavoidable, but it's a spiritual death.
Yeah. So in my tradition, it's called the black hole of the soul. So when you get to the point where you realize like your individual soul isn't your soul, and your soul is like the universal soul, it kind of rips you apart for a second. You know, it becomes a void. It becomes a hole that you sink into, and then you realize that you're like, oh shit, I'm much bigger than I thought I was. You know, because everybody walks around thinking I'm just this one little speck of dust in the universe, right? So the definition of enlightenment in the Yoga Sutras is Kaivalyam, it's called, and it is when I see the entire universe in myself, and myself in the entirety of the universe. That is Kaivalyam. That is enlightenment. And I believe that's what Jesus saw, and I believe that's where he was, very much so. And I believe the Eastern traditions teach people how to become people like Jesus, and I think that Western traditions people teach you that nobody's allowed to become someone like Jesus. What do you think of that one? I'm curious now.
I disagree with that. Yep.
Oh, yeah. Cool. Well, good. I mean, you know, in general, I want everybody to become like Jesus, and I think so. The thing with with Christians is there's so many different denominations, right? And I think that there's a lot of open denominations that view it the way I do, and I think that like the Catholic Church has its very strict way, and I think that there's other Orthodox traditions have their strict ways, And I do think there's fundamentalist groups that have their very, very strict ways, you know, in the non-denominational category. And so it gets confusing. And that becomes just like the term Hinduism. So Hinduism actually is not a Sanskrit term. It doesn't define any religion. It doesn't mean anything. Hinduism literally is an English word that means those brown people over there. So when you talk about Hindus, you're literally basically using a British racist term to describe thousands of religions. Thousands of
I
actual
understood that the root of that
like
word,
that many, like literally thousands.
that the root of
They just call them
Hindu
Hindus.
is
Those brown people
from
over there.
Sanskrit. That's what I understood.
Well, there's what's called Sanatana Dharma, which is the oldest tradition, which is the Vedic tradition, which is also known as the eternal path. But it's been changed over. Like you have Shaivites, you have Vaishnavites, you have like all these other people that worship all these different pantheons of gods and have all different subsets of religions and whole subsets of cultures related to it. You have what do they lump in there? They lump in sheiks, and all these other groups. It's all lumped into the, like back in the day. There's the Hindus, those brown people over there. You know, like the Hindu isn't a real thing. They don't exist. Right. You know, they'll be like, yeah, there's a billion Hindus in there. I mean,
overgeneralization
doesn't exist, because when I say the word Christian, that's like a blanket term, and then there's like a million different ways people worship Christ, right? I guess, right? I guess we're saying the same thing.
Yeah, I see what you're saying. The actual etymology of the word Hindu is from the it's referencing the Sanskrit word for the Indus River. So it's just indicating a general region. So the way it's used is definitely an overgeneralization.
Yeah, it basically is just a geographical term. Yeah,
and then it gets even worse than that, because they use the same word to describe the New World, the inhabitants of the New World.
Yeah.
Like, so everyone in the Caribbean got Indians slapped on them for who knows what reason.
Because they were brown. Because they were brown. It was just easy. It's like, hey, they're not black and they're not white. What are they? Brown? We got to, it's like it's that tan skin shit. You know, they all
and
get
then
together.
Like hundreds and hundreds of
fun part,
tribes.
Very fun part is that in the Vedas,
scattered around North
they
America.
clearly describe Mexico and the people that live there in the Vedas. They had ships moving back and forth back then. You know, and that shit's, you know, they all talk about the ice bridge and that's the only way people migrated. No, they literally had like longboats and canoes they could sail across the ocean back then, and they did.
Yep.
You know?
Yep.
It's the same thing with the Vikings. Yep. Vikings like got all over the New World before like all the English settlers and all those other people. They came here and built shit before anybody else landed here. You know, like oh yeah, the natives must have built that Viking structure over there. Like it's like, you know, it's crazy, man. When you start getting into history, I mean, that was what like I think that was my biggest rabbit hole, was like everything I know is wrong as I study details about anything. Like literally pick a subject and dive into it, and what you were taught about it and what you were told about it is wrong. Like, you remember that old Weird Al Yankovic song? It's like, everything you know is wrong, like his right up is down and short is long. It's like that literally. Like everything's
I'm gonna have to search for that one. I don't know.
Oh, we'll play it tonight. We'll put it at the end. I don't think Weird Al will sue me. But so it's interesting. So I have a kind of an interesting thing pulled up tonight for my inspiration. I was going to do some Psalms, and then I pulled up this Ramesh Balakasar thing. He's a guy who's from the Advaita Vedanta tradition, and his whole thing is like about there's no doer, like there's no one doing the action, right? Something about like a 5-minute talk or whatever. It's pretty interesting. Yeah, I'm kind of. Let's just go ahead and do it real quick and see what you think of this brand. I'd actually be really curious to you and Big Chap's reaction to this shit. I'm gonna play this guy for a second. Now, this guy's got a heavy Indian accent and he doesn't have a lot of teeth, so you gotta listen close. But it's.
We're not hearing anything? Oh, okay.
Actually, give me a second, because this is a better. I actually pulled up a way better talk. The one I pulled up is "What Will Enlightenment Do for Me?" This is the one I pulled up. It's actually way cooler. So let me see if I can get it to do the thing. I'm waiting for it to like upload the video into the blank space where a video should be. I can actually, if I have to search on YouTube separate, I will. But oh man, this is the one I wanted to pull up for you guys. Damn it, it's being a douche weasel. All right, hold on, I can do it a separate way. I'll search this specific talk because this is the one I want to find. So, what happens if you become enlightened in the Hindu tradition? Like, what will it do? You know. And he's he was a guy who was like a hardcore accountant. So I played some videos from Nisargadatta Maharaj. He's an interesting cat in his own right. So this guy was a disciple of his, and he really wasn't a disciple. He was more of he was his translator for a long time. He was an accountant. He was like kind of a hard guy, like wasn't really into it. And he ended up getting to the point where people started showing up at his house asking him to teach him. And he talked to Maharaj about it, and he's like, man, these people are showing up at my house asking me to teach them. And then he's like, what should I do? And he's like, Maharaj told him, well, you better teach him. Yeah, so something like that. Let me see if I can find this. There it is. Oh, so it's part of this talk. And why are they so all long? All right, well, I guess we'll just go ahead in this one because this is the one I believe. We'll give him a few minutes.
You've got him muted. I'm not sure, right? What's going on? Yeah, we're still not getting audio here. Is it just me? I can't hear anything.
You saying you can't hear the video at all, Brand?
I cannot. Nope.
Huh. He's playing. It looks like he's playing on my end. He's just quiet and he's Indian. He's mumbly.
I'm getting dead silence.
Huh. All right, let me hold on. I might have shared it wrong. Give me a second. We'll reshare it. I I always have to wonder whenever these technical glitches happen is like, did I do something wrong, or or is it the other thing? It
The
literally
paranoid section of your brain starts to light up.
I mean, that shit literally does happen to me. I mean, like, I've been talking to my dad about like crazy shit for the longest time, and our phone conversations get interrupted all the time. And I told my like, dad, brother, and uncle about this, and they all think it's all crazy or whatever. And then it starts happening to them when we start talking about the same shit that I was talking about with my dad. That's just like, I told you so. Like, if you talk about certain shit, you're gonna get fucked up. Oh, maybe there's a good one I was looking for. I'll play. Nah, it won't. Damn it. Ball hair. Where's the one I just had? Oh, there it is. All right, hold on. Give me a second. This is cool, actually, because this is like a full question and answer, and it's actually a little more like fun. So let me see if I can get it. There we go. Here, I'll scroll back for you guys. My bad. I didn't realize I didn't have any sound. So I think it might have been on my end. Let me know if it's better, Brad. Let's go back a second.
There we go. Yeah, we're good.
All right, cool. Yeah, it was my bad. I think. I don't think it was the government. I think it was me.
And so far, I've interviewed and made portraits of about 300 people.
Oh, yeah.
From 17 countries.
From 1700 to 300?
17 countries.
Ah, I see. 300 people from 17 countries.
Yeah.
I see.
So this week I'm in India for the first time.
I see. So, importance of faith, is that right?
Portraits.
Potency.
Portraits.
Portrait of faith, I see. Very, very good title. Portrait of faith. I see. Go ahead.
So I'd love to ask you, what is faith for you? What does it mean to have faith for you?
Faith for me means total acceptance based on my reason. That's the point. For me, faith is total acceptance. And I think that is precisely what the Buddha meant. Don't accept what I say. It's a concept. Don't accept anything anybody says. Test it out. And then if you are convinced, accept that. For me, that is faith.
What was the first time in your life you felt faith?
Frankly, I've got it all the time. But it was for me to realize that it's there. For instance, I've always, without the slightest doubt, I knew that everything in the world is already predetermined. It is there. And therefore, truly, there is no one to do anything except doing whatever I was meant to do. So in a way, I've always had that conviction, but it was an intellectual conviction. So that intellectual conviction had to go deeper into my heart, where there is no doubt. In other words, if you gave me a lie detector test, I would come out. Do you believe in this stupid concept? I said, oh yes, totally. The event in my life was the experience that I was not doing the talking. I used to do translation for Nisargadatta for quite some time. In fact, 6 months after I saw him. But a year after I started, almost exactly a year, it turned out that on a particular occasion, I was translating. And my experience was that I could hardly wait for him to finish before I started the translation. In other words, the normal translation up to then used to have a process. Process means time, whether it's half a second, 2 seconds, or 30 seconds, or 60 seconds. Because the process means time. And the process meant I had to listen carefully to what Maharaj said. Then I had to understand it, understand the significance of it. Then translate it into English, foreign language for me, and then vocalize it. So that took certain amount of time, however short it is. But that particular morning, there simply wasn't any process. I knew exactly what Maharaj was going to say, and the translation was just coming out. I had the experience that I was not doing the translation. The translation was happening. That is the experience. And yet, the total acceptance was always there for a long time.
Was there a second time?
If the second time is needed, the first time has not happened.
Well said.
See how simple it is? Good question. What do you think is the concept of God? When an atheist comes here to me and he says, Ramesh, I've gone into it very thoroughly, make no mistake. I'm not making an offhand statement, but I honestly do not believe in God. What do you think will be my response? My response will be, I entirely agree with you that God as a concept, as an individual entity, cannot exist. An individual entity means he has to have the other, me and the other. Whereas the Bible says, I am is God. So without the other. So what is I am? I am that I am. See? So and I am, the unmanifest unicity, does not need to know that it is. So when the I am and or the unmanifest unicity, unmanifest oneness, became the manifest duality of every conceivable kind, beginning with male and female, that the I am happened. I am the total manifestation. Unmanifest, there is no need. Moment there is manifestation, I am this manifestation. But for the functioning of that manifestation, that we call daily living, the basis has to be duality, beginning with male and female, and duality of every conceivable kind. Good and evil, health and disease, wealth and poverty, sage and setback. Therefore, my firm conviction has always been the sage did not choose to be a sage. The psychopath and the murderer did not choose to be what they are. So why did they have to happen? Because the basis of the manifestation functioning called duality, functioning called life, is duality. Therefore, beginning with male and female, everything in the universe has an interconnected opposite. Therefore, my earliest conviction has been there cannot be anything that we call truth or love. Love, hatred, truth, falsehood. Therefore, truth or love can only be the one reality. And that as God is what I firmly believe in. In other words, I believe that the manifest could not have just happened as an accident. The unmanifest unicity has become the manifest duality. For 35, 40 years, I pursued enlightenment. At the end, I'm not an active pursuit, but sort of a deep, almost unconscious seeking of enlightenment. Ended in frustration because not even my guru nor anybody could give me answers to two basic questions. What am I serving? What am I looking for? Enlightenment. What is enlightenment? Two, more important. What will enlightenment do for me if and when I get it? Yes, right? But when I once asked my guru, he got angry because he thought I was questioning his enlightenment. Then he saw that many of the others were waiting for his answer. What is enlightenment and what will it do for me? So he calmed down and he gave me an answer which I knew would come because I had come earlier. You will know what enlightenment is and what this does for you only when you're enlightened. To know the sweetness of the mango, we have to eat it. That is the classical escape route. So, everything in the manifestation and its functioning that we call life is duality. And since I have accepted that, many questions don't arise and bother me. Why did God have to create Adolf Hitler? Because God created Jesus Christ. Why does God create handicapped children? What have the poor things done? Answer is, God is forced to create handicapped children because He creates healthy children. So such questions I don't even ask. And these are the questions which truly make a human being unhappy. I want to know. What is the answer? So for that question, my counter question is, who wants to know? Daniel, Ramesh, Gabriel, all of these are names given to a three-dimensional object. Everything in the manifestation is a three-dimensional object of various kinds. Stone, there is no apparent life. A growing plant which goes into a tree or dies down is again a three-dimensional object. The animal is a three-dimensional object in which there is life and a sense of personal identification, which is the unidentified self has attached itself, identified itself with a particular body-mind object and considered itself a separate entity. Therefore, your pet dog will not like it if you pet another dog. Daniel is mine. Is mine. Not the other way around. As far as the dog is concerned, Daniel is mine. And then there is the human being, who is an animal, life, and the ego. But in the human ego, as different from the animal ego, the human ego has an additional factor, which is the crux of the matter, the sense of personal doership, and intelligence, intellect, which makes him ask questions and become unhappy if he doesn't get answers. But all four are individual body-mind organisms, which is a three-dimensional object in which has been induced by the soul, like five senses, intelligence, and most important, the sense of personal doership. I do whatever I do, I'm responsible for my action. You, the other, are responsible for your action. And each of us will be punished by God if we don't do what God has ordered us to do. Isn't that the usual idea of God? Out there sitting with a huge computer, jotting down every sin that we have committed. And that I totally reject. And which is what the atheist does. For me, God means impersonal consciousness, unicity, or impersonal energy, unicity, which is functioning through 6 billion human objects and bringing about whatever is supposed to happen according to thy will be done. I said according to God's will or a universal law, a cosmic law.
I'll post the rest of the link to Ramesh. He goes deep, man. You can watch this guy go on for hours and hours. But I you know, like I said, my philosophy tends to agree a little closer to this. And Rumi and the Zargadata, in the Bible, I do find it in Psalms and some other places where it kind of speaks to me in that same ilk, in that same type of light. And actually, Brand was sharing some stuff with me the other day that was hitting pretty hard there too. But yeah, I just, for a perspective on kind of my background, that'll give you an idea where I come from. I did pull up one more thing for the night. I'm gonna pull up Psalms 10 tonight. Actually, I got one here. Let me see if I can get it. And it's a video. Make sure it's a video. Hold on. There we go. We're going to do this one. We're going to do Psalms number 37 tonight to end the show. And that's going to be after this one ends, I'm going to call it a night and get my grub in my face and go to bed and do another work day tomorrow. But hold on, I got to stop sharing, share, do the things with the sound. But yeah. Hope y'all enjoyed wherever we went tonight. We go all over the place. I kind of like that my show goes everywhere all the time because that's a good rule of thumb. I'm not afraid to go wherever the hell we got to go today. All right, we're gonna do this one.
The Book of Psalms, Psalm 37, a Psalm of David. Fret not thyself because of evildoers, neither be thou envious against the workers of iniquity. For they shall soon be cut down like the grass, and wither as the green herb. Trust in the Lord and do good. So shalt thou dwell in the land, and verily thou shalt be fed. Delight thyself also in the Lord, and he shall give thee the desires of thine heart. Commit thy way unto the Lord. Trust also in him, and he shall bring it to pass. And he shall bring forth thy righteousness as the light, and thy judgment as the noonday. Rest in the Lord, and wait patiently for him. Fret not thyself because of him who prospereth in his way, because of the man who bringeth wicked devices to pass. Cease from anger, and forsake wrath. Fret not thyself in any wise to do evil, for evildoers shall be cut off. But those that wait upon the Lord, they shall inherit the earth. For yet a little while, and the wicked shall not be. Yea, thou shalt diligently consider his place, and it shall not be. But the meek shall inherit the earth, and shall delight themselves in the abundance of peace. The wicked plotteth against the just, and gnasheth upon him with his teeth. The Lord shall laugh at him, for he seeth that his day is coming. The wicked have drawn out the sword, and have bent their bow to cast down the poor and needy, and to slay such as be of upright conversation. Their sword shall enter into their own heart, and their bows shall be broken. A little that a righteous man hath is better than the riches of many wicked. For the arms of the wicked shall be broken, but the Lord upholdeth the righteous. The Lord knoweth the days of the upright, and their inheritance shall be forever. They shall not be ashamed in the evil time, and in the days of famine they shall be satisfied. But the wicked shall perish, and the enemies of the Lord shall be as the fat of lambs. They shall consume, into smoke shall they consume away. The wicked borroweth, and payeth not again, but the righteous showeth mercy, and giveth. For such as be blessed of him shall inherit the earth, and they that be cursed of him shall be cut off. The steps of a good man are ordered by the Lord, and he delighteth in his way. Though he fall, he shall not be utterly cast down, for the Lord upholdeth him with his hand. I have been young, and now am old, yet have I not seen the righteous forsaken, nor his seed begging bread. He is ever merciful and lendeth, and his seed is blessed. Depart from evil and do good, and dwell forevermore. For the Lord loveth judgment, and forsaketh not his saints. They are preserved forever, but the seed of the wicked shall be cut off. The righteous shall inherit the land, and dwell therein forever. The mouth of the righteous speaketh wisdom, and his tongue talketh of judgment. The law of his God is in his heart, none of his steps shall slide. The wicked watcheth the righteous, and seeketh to slay him. The Lord will not leave him in his hand, nor condemn him when he is judged. Wait on the Lord, and keep his way, and he shall exalt thee to inherit the land. When the wicked are cut off, thou shalt see it. I have seen the wicked in great power, and spreading himself like a green bay tree. Yet he passed away, and lo, he was not. Yea, I sought him, but he could not be found. Mark the perfect man, and behold the upright. For the end of that man is peace. But the transgressors shall be destroyed together. The end of the wicked shall be cut off. But the salvation of the righteous is of the Lord. He is their strength in the time of trouble. And the Lord shall help them and deliver them. He shall deliver them from the wicked and save them, because they trust in him.
So yeah, that was pretty cool, man. I felt that one. Yeah. You got it? You got anything you want me to check out before we go to bed, Brand?
I did send you a Jordan Peterson one. I don't know if you want to take the time.
What did you send me? Did you send me on Discord?
Yep.
Let me give it a quick click. I'll give you a few minutes of it. How about that?
Sure.
It's time to grow up. Man, his interview with the Korean lady was like amazing. I don't know if you saw that one. I played a little. Oh, he's got 10 minutes here. Yeah. We'll go ahead and throw this on for a few minutes. Shit, I got 10 minutes. I got 10 minutes, Brand. We'll do it. Hold on. Is the sound on?
Is it playing right now?
Resentment is a key human motivation.
Hold on. I got you. Give me a second. All right, do a thing. Give me a second. technological things. See if we can do it like that. No, well, let me do that. All right, hold on.
I would say it's a great teacher.
All right, here we go. Oh yeah, this looks like it's gonna be all inspirational. A great way to end the show. Good call, man. We'll do that. Oh yeah. It already I just saw 2 seconds. It's like, yeah, Jordan Peterson. It's 10 minutes and it's all with a montage. Jordan Peterson montage.
Yeah.
Yeah, dude.
Yeah, it's got the stock footage.
Oh, greatest advice you'll ever receive. Yeah, there we go. All right, yeah. Well, dude, hell yeah, dude. I appreciate it, man. So our show end comes from Brand. So there we go. Hell yeah, we're gonna do this all the way. All the way. That was a great poem. Check out All the Way by Charles Bukowski if you haven't.
Resentment is a key human motivation, and I would say it's a great teacher. To listen to your resentment is one of the best things you can possibly do. Resentment only means one of two things. It means either shut the hell up, grow up, quit whining and get on with it. That's one thing it means. Or someone is playing the tyrant to you, might even be you, and you have something to say and do that you should say and do to put it to a stop. And so maybe resentment can show you the pathway to doing that. A resentful person wants other people to change. And if you're resentful, then your motivations aren't trustworthy. In fact, they're very, very dark. And what should you do instead? How do you treat your own resentment? I would say, well, Solzhenitsyn, who I'm a great admirer of Solzhenitsyn, his book, The Gulag Archipelago, was one of the things that brought down the Soviet Union. And he said that one man who stopped lying could bring down a tyranny. And, he said that with some authority. He said when he was in the Gulag camps, meditating on how the hell he got there, and he had a rough life, man. I mean, first of all, he was on the Russian front at the beginning of World War II, and then he was thrown in the Gulag camps. And that was just the beginning of his adventures, man. He had a rough life. And he was in the camps, and he was thinking, what the hell? How did I get here? What's going on? And he had Hitler and Stalin to blame, right? So if you need someone to blame, man, Hitler and Stalin, that's great. But that isn't what he did. He said he meditated for a while once he realized that he might have something to do with, in some strange way, with the way things turned out for him. And he said he went over his life with a fine-tooth comb in his memory. He thought, okay, where did I go wrong? But by my own judgment, when there was a path in front of me, when did I take the path that I knew I shouldn't take? Because you all know that, right? Sometimes you don't know if what you're doing is good or if it's bad. It's just ignorance. You just don't know. But sometimes you bloody well know, and you do the thing you know you shouldn't do anyways. That happens a lot. And why do you do that? Spite is part of it. Stupidity. There's all sorts of reasons, but you certainly know you do it. Solzhenitsyn thought, okay, well, what would happen if I took responsibility for where I am in this concentration camp, and then I went over my whole life and tried to figure out all the things I did that were wrong by my own estimation that increased the probability that I would get here, and then what would happen if I tried to set them all right now in the present? And that's why he wrote the Gulag Archipelago. And one of the consequences of that, as I said, was it sped the dissolution of the Soviet Empire. So, hey, that's not bad, eh? You make a real confession, you really repent, you do your penance, which is writing this book, and you completely change the geopolitical landscape of the world. It's and that's worth thinking about, because it's not only Solzhenitsyn who did that. Nelson Mandela did something quite similar. It's not so impossible. And so the idea that what you should do if you're feeling resentful about the nature of being or suffering too much for your own life, let's say, is straighten the damn thing out. Seriously, try it for a year even. Try it for a week. Try not doing the things you know you shouldn't do. Try not saying the things you know to be false. And just watch what happens. You might as well give it a shot, right? Because you say, well, I'm all in for a year. I'm going to do things right. And then I'll just stand back and I kind of watch how things unfold. And maybe I'll reconsider at the end of that year. It's try it. Try it. I would say I've had thousands of letters now from people who are saying, hey, I tried that, and hey, it worked. I read this great line in a T.S. Eliot play called The Cocktail Party. And in it, this woman comes up to a psychiatrist and she says, I'm having a really rough time of it. I'm suffering badly. My life is not going well. And then she says, I hope that there's something wrong with me. And the psychiatrist says, well, what the hell do you mean by that? And she says, well, here's how I look at it. There's either something wrong with the world, and I'm just in it, and that's how it is. And then, like, what am I going to do about that? Because it's the whole world. Or maybe I could be fortunate, and there's something wrong with me that's causing all this unnecessary suffering. And if I could just set it right. I could learn, and I could set it right. And so, well, I've been thinking about that for a very long time. And I think, well, if your life isn't going the way it is, you can find someone else to blame, which is pretty convenient for you and also relatively easy. Or you could think, okay, I don't like life. I don't like the way my life is unfolding. Maybe I don't like life in general because it's tragic and tainted with evil. How do I know if my judgment is accurate? And the question is, well, have I really done everything I possibly could to set my life straight? Because maybe I shouldn't be judging its quality or the quality of life itself or being itself, for that matter, if I haven't done everything I possibly could to set my life straight. Well, so there's a task. The humility element is, it took me a long time to understand why there's religious injunctions supporting humility, to even understand what the word really meant in that sort of technical sense. And it means something like this. It means what you don't know is more important than what you know. Then what you don't know can start to be your friend, you see. People are very defensive about what they know. But the thing is, you don't know enough. And you can tell you don't know enough because your life is not what it could be, and neither is the life of the people around you. You just don't know enough. And so what that means is that every time you encounter some evidence that you're ignorant, someone points it out, you should be happy about that because you think, oh, you just told me how I'm wrong. It's like, great. Like maybe I had to sift through a lot of nonsense to get through the real message that you're telling me. But if you could actually tell me some way that I'm wrong and then maybe give me a hint about how to not be wrong like that, well, then I wouldn't have to be wrong like that anymore. That would be a good thing. And you can embark on that adventure by listening to people. And if you listen to people, they'll tell you amazing things if you listen to them. And many of those things are little tools that you can put in your toolkit, like Batman. And then you can go out into the world and use those tools, and you don't have to fall blindly into a pit quite as often. And so the humility element is, well, do you want to be right or do you want to be learning? And it's deeper than that. It's, do you want to be the tyrannical king who's already got everything figured out? Or do you want to be the continually transforming hero, or fool for that matter, who's getting better all the time? And that's actually a choice, It's a deep choice. And it's better to be the self-transforming fool who's humble enough to make friends with what he or she doesn't know and to listen when people talk. And listening is a transformative exercise. Like if you listen to the people in your life, for example, if you actually listen to them, they'll tell you what's wrong with them and how to fix it and what they want. They can't even help it if you start listening, because people are so shocked if you actually listen to them that they tell you all sorts of things that they might not have even intended to, things they don't even know. And then you can work with that. And the other thing that's so interesting, now and then you have a meaningful conversation, right? You have a good conversation with someone, you walk away and you think, geez, we really connected, and I know more than I did when I came away from that conversation. And during the conversation, you're really engrossed in it. And that feeling of being engrossed is a feeling of meaning. And the feeling of meaning is engendered because you're having a transformative conversation. So your brain produces that feeling of meaning for you. It says, oh yeah, this is exactly where you should be right here and now. It's the right place and time for you. And that's a great place to occupy. And so a good conversation where people are listening has exactly that nature. And the reason it has that nature is because it is in fact transformative. It's one of the truisms of clinical psychology. Like if you're a clinical psychologist, a huge part of what you do is just listen to people. It's like, they come in, they're unhappy and they'd rather not be, something like that. You say, well, why do you think you might be unhappy? And they don't know. They have some ideas, and they may have to ramble around for like a year before they figure out why they're unhappy. They get rid of a bunch of reasons why they thought they were unhappy that are untrue, and then you kind of get to the heart of the problem. Then you might ask them, well, if you could have what you wanted so that your life would be okay, what would that look like? And they have to ramble around a bunch about that because they don't really know. But the listening will straighten them out because people think by talking. And in order to think, you have to have someone to listen, because it's very hard to think. Hardly anyone can think. And even the people who can think can only think about a limited number of things. But almost everybody can talk. And you can listen to yourself talk. And if someone listens to you, then, well, then you also have a foil for your thoughts, right? Because you can watch the person when you're talking and see if you're boring or see if you're amusing or if you're engrossing, all of those things. So like if you're arguing with your wife, let's say, or your husband, big party is going to want to win. That's stupid because you don't want that. You want to defeat your wife in an argument. Oh, well, great. Like if she was going to disappear tomorrow, no problem. But like you're going to like live with defeated, miserable her for the next week? That's no good. So you listen and you think, okay, well, here's what I think you said, and maybe even make it a little stronger and more elaborated than was the case with the original utterance, so that you get the damn argument right. Because you don't want to win, you want to fix the problem. That's the winning.
Well said, man. I think that's a good end for my show tonight. Oh yeah.
Thanks, Joe.
Yeah, man. Thank you for sharing that, man. I think that was proper. I absolutely I think that's the right approach. We have to take tenacity for our situation, and we have to going back to Ramesh, we have to accept that. I really like the line he said where he was like, all the saints never wanted to be saints. Like, that's just what happened to them, right? Like in the same way that everything happens to everybody else. Like, and there's this, it goes back to that whole argument of destiny and free will, which will, is a never ending argument. Just like I kind of started the show with, talking about getting wrapped up in a flat earth documentary, because like to me it doesn't matter if the earth is flat around, it really doesn't, and I can't know, and I think there's some aspects of, like, when it comes to our seeking of knowledge and seeking of understanding, we have to understand the limits of our ability to know, and be okay with not being able to know the answer to certain shit. It's like, hey, that's just too big for my tiny little person on this earth to get. Like, I don't understand the answer. I don't know the answer, and like, and arguing over anything like that, it becomes philosophical debate, and that's basically all religious debate, all debate when you want to talk about aliens, whatever the hell else you want to talk about.